Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all.
That's what I forgot.
What?
I knew something.
Oh, well, here, you know what? I forgot too. Here, we fucked that up in a couple ways. Because, hold on. We got to play something real quick for you guys.
China's gonna pay. Tariffs start the very next day. Stocks went red, he hit the brakes. Canceled fast, no high stakes. It's the taco trade. Trump always chickens out. Talks real big, then spins around. Says he's strong, but full of doubt. TACO, he backs right out.
Get on that taco trade, kids. Not to be construed as financial advice.
That's right.
I knew the lighting was weird. I was like, there's something this wasn't my lighting, was it? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now it's better. See, I didn't realize when we were backstage earlier. Yeah, again, the lighting was it was lost on me. What can I say? But hello, dissidents, and welcome one and all.
That's why you got drummed out of directing, right?
Yeah, right.
You did a whole film without turning any of the lights on.
Without turning any of the lights on. That's right.
Why is it all black? It's like
That's
the old
right.
radio plays.
Right, exactly.
That was my vision.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate you all being here this evening. As you can see, Russ is back in New York City. That's right.
Yeah, man.
He's back.
You know how long I've been gone?
What's
You're going to have to let me at some point, well, either before the segment or between segments. I hit the wrong button for the coffee. Like I forgot which button it was.
Oh, yeah?
I hit the brew program instead of the brew.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you forgot how to make your coffee, I guess.
I literally forgot how to use my coffee maker.
Yeah, wow. So, yeah, there you go. All right, well, one of these times during a segment break, I'm sure we'll have a chance where you can go and grab that. That's only fair. Got a lot to get to tonight, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Let me.
You know what the weirdest part of coming back is?
What's that?
It's still a shithole here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was not going to be a total shithole, but it's a total shithole.
Well, what do you mean you thought it was not going to be a total shithole? You thought it would have improved without you here, or did you think you would miss it and you would enjoy being back?
I thought, yeah, maybe like you're home. I don't think I've ever been away from New York that long and not come home and kind of felt like, I'm just like, this is fucking disgusting. It stinks. It's crowded. Like, I have never really felt that way about New York to like that extent. Where as soon as I came home, I was like, ugh.
Back here. What are you going to do? Well, hopefully you get well acquainted once again. Russ back in the city. 921 strong in the YouTube chat to start things off. 609 strong over on Rumble. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. That Trump cartoon was, of course, AI, and that was supposed to be the lead-in to the show, but I got a little distracted at the last second for good reason, actually, for a reason that I will let you guys know about in just a moment. But AI is a big theme of the show this evening, so that's why we thought we would start out with a nice AI call.
I've just got a response. Someone was like, "Oh, Russ got high class." Yeah. The home of the high class aristocrats, Buffalo, New York.
Right. Yes.
No, you know what I got inured to? Like small town kind of life. I mean, I know they call it a city. It's not a city to me. You know, I mean, coming from here, it's nice. It's very nice. It's clean. Yes. I did, I not once did my foot get snagged on a plastic bag walking down the street there. It happened like as soon as I got off the train here.
Yep. Understandable. All right, folks. So we're going to get started with a bit of an exciting announcement. Now, we can only say what is on paper here, but this is why I was a little flustered coming in, because this came across the wire. Super last minute from a little bird in our ear. So this is a press release from Workers Strike Back. Shama Sawant, Workers Strike Back, and community supporters announcing election campaign. Shama Sawant, former Socialist Seattle City Council member and co-founder of Workers Strike Back, will stand alongside fellow community organizers, rank-and-file union members, and socialists to announce her election campaign for public office. This will be at a press conference in Seattle tomorrow, June 2nd at 10 a.m. local time. That's Pacific time at the Henry M. Jackson Federal Building at 915 2nd Avenue in Seattle. These details, I assume, will be tweeted out in text form for you guys to read later this evening, which we'll certainly retweet. But we will be streaming the press conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be streaming that press conference on our channel. That's all we can really say at this point. We're just going to stream their press conference. We're not going to do like a big show. We'll sign on and say hi and bye at the beginning and the end. But basically, that's just going to be a news event. So we are, of course, looking forward to that. Shama will be announcing an election campaign for public office, getting back in the saddle tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific, as she goes live from Seattle. And we will be covering that, like I said, on our YouTube and Rumble and X as that happens. So we are looking very much forward to that. That is exciting stuff. So that's the big news. That's the big news. That's our scoop. We had that first. And I had to format it because there was someone's private phone number in there that I assumed they didn't want me to read on the show. So I had to reformat it.
Oh, maybe they did. Maybe they're lonely.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just to be safe, I cropped that out. I realized, I better crop that out at the last second. All right. So that will be great tomorrow. And Russ and I will be hosting the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. We will have special guest Gabber Mate and possibly one other with us tomorrow night. So that should be a really fun time. All righty. Let's waste no more time. Let's get things started here. Okay. So we want to start out with some pretty pressing news of the day. And that, of course, is the horrific situation in Gaza as it pertains to just about everything, but especially now the focus is on the quote-unquote humanitarian distribution sites of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is the U.S. and Israeli-approved aid organization meant to displace the different UN aid organizations. And the scenes at these distribution sites are, of course, absolutely horrible. Let's take a look at this. This is in response to gunfire. We had to pick a video without any gunfire. If you want to hear the gunfire videos, you can go on X and find those. So just absolutely horrid. Al Jazeera reports Israel kills 32 Palestinians waiting for food at U.S.-backed Gaza aid sites. Just a absolutely horrible, horrible state of affairs there. And that makes this humanitarian mission all the more meaningful and all the more urgent. Climate activist Greta Thunberg to join aid ship effort to break Gaza siege. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg and Game of Thrones actor Liam Cunningham, will join the next sailing of the Freedom Flotilla coalition as it attempts to break Israel's month-long blockade of Gaza. The Madeleine is due to disembark from Catania, Sicily on Sunday with a cargo of humanitarian aid and several high-profile activists on board, including Thunberg, European Member of Parliament Rima Hassan, and Palestinian-American lawyer Huwaida Araf. Here are the names and headshots of some of the panelists, volunteers, and supporters joining the launch of the Madeleine in Catania, Sicily, about to sail to break Israel's illegal siege of Gaza. This is the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. The hashtag there is @GazaFFlotilla. I recommend you follow them on X. They will have breaking updates as this voyage continues. Greta Thunberg, Leah Cunningham, Rima Hassan, Thiago Avila, Huwaida Araf, Nicole Janez, Dr. Mohammed Mustafa. Here is a video. On Friday, Freedom Flotilla Coalition members took off yesterday, sailing to Gaza to break the siege and create a people's humanitarian corridor.
Friday, May the 30th of 2025, and the Madeleine just set sail on its way to break the siege of Gaza. We are here sailing from Augusta to Catania, where we have our final launch event for the next 2 days, Friday, Saturday, and on Sunday we're sailing to Gaza to break the illegal siege and to create a people's humanitarian corridor. It's very important that we ask all the governments, but that we pressure everywhere for a safe passage of the Madeleine. 12 people are here on board to break the siege and to create a people's humanitarian corridor, to take whatever aid we can carry, and to say that we will not accept a genocide, we will not accept ethnic cleansing, and we will not stay silent in the greatest challenge of our generation. We are the people who, together with all the other demonstrations, BDS, blocking arms factories, are in solidarity with the Palestinian people, and we will never stop until Palestine is free. Bye! Free Palestine!
Right, and here is a word later that day from Greta Thunberg herself on board the Madeleine.
I am currently standing on the Madeleine, the ship that on Sunday, June 1st, will attempt to again sail towards Gaza and to try to break the siege and open up a humanitarian corridor by delivering aid like food and medical supplies. The last time we attempted this, about a month ago, the boat Conscience that we were about to board, just a couple of hours before we were planning to board and set sail, it got bombed twice, and all evidence suggests that it was Israel who did it.
Oh my god.
So now we are here in Catania, outside of Sicily, to try to continue our mission to try again. Because currently we are watching a systematic starvation of 2 million people, a live stream genocide, and the world's silence is deadly. That is why we have to keep trying everything we can, even if the odds are against us, to try to protest and do everything we can to stand against Israel's atrocities and war crimes, and to support and stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So keep your eyes on deck, continue flooding the streets, organize, boycott, and do everything in your power to stand for Palestine.
Good for her. Cunningham, an Irish actor best known for his role as Davos Seaworth in the hit HBO series Game of Thrones, that is a longtime advocate for Palestine and similar causes. The sailing marks the second attempt in as many months by the FFC, a coalition of humanitarian groups, to reach Gaza. A mission at the start of May was aborted after another FFC vessel, the Conscience, was attacked by 2 alleged drones while sailing in international waters off the coast of Malta. Malta and Sicily are very, very close to each other. Malta is about 60 miles off the coast of Sicily. They decided wisely to dock at Catania in Sicily this time. MEP Hassan said in a short video on social media that the trip by the Madeleine is a protest against Israel as much as an attempt to deliver much-needed aid to Gaza. The first goal being, of course, to reject the blockade of humanitarian aid, the ongoing genocide, the impunity enjoyed by the state of Israel, and to raise global international awareness, she said. So we'll mute this for music purposes, but I will read it's in subtitles. Anyway, so here's her video statement. I'm boarding a new humanitarian ship to sail towards Gaza with the Freedom Flotilla coalition. I will be with Greta Thunberg, the flotilla crew, and other activists. The nonviolent action is both symbolic but also political. It has several objectives. The first one being, of course, to reject the blockade of humanitarian aid, the ongoing genocide, the impunity enjoyed, and to raise global international awareness. The action is also in response to the attack that took place on May 2nd against the previous ship that took place in international waters near Malta. To guarantee our safety, but also the success of this mission, we need maximum citizen mobilization for this initiative. This is also the only way to be able to maintain the pressure to have significant impact on the state of Israel. We count on you. Yes, so the fact that, Thunberg is doing this is more than just symbolic. The fact that Thunberg is doing this could, in theory, make them less likely to attack the ship because she's a beloved global celebrity. So what happens if they hurt her, right? It's going to be harder to explain that away to the international community than these bunch of people. You could say, well, they were just, you could say anything if the people on there are not known figures. So she's not only lending her celebrity status to this for symbolic reasons, but there's also practical safety reasons for her to be doing this, and good on her. Here she is issuing a joint statement with Rima Hassan, both on camera together.
Comme vous le savez, nous embarquons aujourd'hui à bord du navire humanitaire en direction de Gaza. Le seul moyen de garantir le succès de cette mission, mais également notre sécurité, c'est la mobilisation citoyenne. On compte sur vous pour partager l'initiative, mais aussi pour suivre la traversée.
Well, she's English now.
All eyes on deck and to follow the mission and keep putting pressure on your respective governments and institutions to demand an end to the genocide and the occupation in Palestine.
All right. Now, Greta, today from Sicily, these are their final statements before boarding. Sicily is their final stop. They do expect this to be a 7-day voyage to the Gaza Strip. There is a lot of water to cover in a pretty small vessel. So here she is earlier today.
We are doing this because no matter what odds we are against, we have to keep trying. Because the moment we stop trying is when we lose our humanity. And no matter how dangerous this mission is, it is nowhere near as dangerous as the silence of the entire world in the face of a live-stream genocide.
And here she gets some well wishes from UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese. Stay safe, my friends. I am painfully aware of the risks you are taking on behalf of all of us, of humanity, diplomats and politicians around the world. The flotilla giants are taking the heavy lift. Please make sure they are protected, will you? This is the least you can do. Well, as you could see here, you have some real lowlifes. Arsen Ostrovsky being one of them, being one of the most high profile on X. Oh, look, the little jihadi Greta Thunberg is trying to get into Gaza to show solidarity with Hamas. It would be so sad if something were to happen to her flotilla. So that's just making an open threat against Greta Thunberg, which, as has been said over and over again in this segment, and they make a point to say it. They are unarmed. They are not going in. They have no weapons on them. It's a nonviolent humanitarian mission. Think of the bravery it takes to do that, knowing you have these psychos out here who are advocating for your death. And here's the ultimate irony. This guy is an international human rights lawyer. Yes, based in Israel.
Disgusting pig. Well, I mean, what really makes this so incredibly brave, I don't know if there is any country on earth today or even in the modern era that has conducted itself with such a sense of impunity.
Right.
With such a sense that nothing it does will come with consequences. Suppose they do bomb this ship. You think America cuts off aid with this crew?
No.
This crew? No, they'll blame it on somebody else.
Right.
They'll create some kind of plausible deniability. I mean, not really plausible, but enough for Trump to say, "Yeah, that's very dangerous there." Then they said they didn't do it. Anything could happen.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. They're making a point. The people on this flotilla, they're making it a point to say we're going in unarmed. Yeah. It's a nonviolent mission. Yeah. There is a tracker online where you can track the progress of the vessel. Like I said, you can find that at the Freedom Flotilla X account. I encourage you all to find that. But yeah, they are going in to try and break this blockade unarmed on a nonviolent trip, knowing Israel hit their last ship and knowing you have raving lunatics egging Israel on to hit this one. So it's an extraordinarily urgent and brave and noble action. And, maybe we should start a series called Dissident Diktats, where we issue commands of the audience, right? We issue rules. You know how Bill Maher has his new rules? Mm-hmm. We should have Dissident Diktats. From this day forward, you put respect on Greta Thunberg's name. That's it. Greta Thunberg, that's like with that episode of the Sopranos that became the meme where Tony's ranting about Christopher Columbus is a hero in this house, and that's that. Yeah. Greta Thunberg is a hero in this house, and that's that. Yeah, man. I mean, what these people are doing is just incredibly brave. Yeah. Incredibly brave. Yes. In the face of a violent attack on the last vessel.
Yep. Yeah, and I said this the last time this came up when she was doing some activism around this. My patience for attacking a teenage girl is pretty non-existent.
Right.
At best, if you want to theorize, well, maybe she's being used or manipulated or used as a front person for forces that aren't really what she's representing. Okay, you can have that conversation. But the kind of like hatred and vitriol that's been directed at Greta Thunberg, largely by grown-ass fucking men, right. You should really be ashamed of yourself, man, to go after a young girl like that. Even if you think there are nefarious actors behind her climate activism, well, you're holding a teen at the time, really a teenager, accountable for that. Like she's out there as an activist before she was even of age. And you're turning her into this horrid proxy of the New World Order. I mean, come on, man. And now, when you look at what she's doing now, that really places it in a context, right? That really places it in a context of, well, it looks like she did mean it. Whatever you think about, maybe she was, being directed into things that she didn't really understand. And I'm not saying she was, but you can have that conversation legitimately. But I think she's proven with this, any kind of aspersions on her as a legitimate activist are out the window. And if you don't think so, you go get on that boat.
Yeah, get on a boat. Go ahead.
You go get on that boat.
Get on. If she's such a poser, you get on a boat.
You go get on that. I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't. I'm telling you right now, I would not be on that boat. With these psychos, if there's any country on earth, especially at the present moment, that would just bomb that boat, regardless of her being on it, and say, wasn't me.
We'll make something up. Yeah.
But we got pictures.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't us. Yeah. No,
I mean, any country that would do that, it's Israel.
They already did. They already did it. They already hit the boat. I mean, they already fired a drone at this boat, and so it is incredibly brave. And yeah, I mean, whatever you may think about the climate activism, you can't say the same thing about this. I mean, this certainly. I mean, there's no billionaire money behind the Freedom Flotilla. There's no Klaus Schwab behind the
Which
Freedom
at that
Flotilla.
point you got to reevaluate if you were
exactly.
attacking her climate activism as being put on, or she's fake, or she's an agent. Well, you got to reevaluate that now too, don't you?
Well, I would think so. At least you have to start reconsidering it. I mean, it's possible that she was a pawn in a certain game in that context, but not in this one. Like, certainly not in this one. Like, you can't just say she's a creation.
Sure.
I mean,
that's why I'm saying that's legitimate.
Yeah.
But those attacks became extremely personal. And
well, yeah,
I will. Well, yeah, and I'll say, just being in this, in this space, and I'm not. I'm very sensitive to overblown claims of victimhood. I don't think they're good for anybody, even the group claiming it. I think it's very disempowering to live in the world thinking that way, constantly hunting for discrimination. That having been said, just from living on planet Earth and living in this space on planet Earth, yeah, man, women get a special kind of vitriol that men very rarely get. Like, a man has to go full Rob Reiner to get what a woman will get for like an errant tweet.
Right. Yep, that is true. So, hey, follow the Madeline Voyage on the tracker. That's a great resource, and definitely follow them on X for updates, because we're going to have more to cover about this in the coming days. They are expected this to take 1 week. So they are not expected to be approaching Gaza until next Sunday. And so we will keep them in our thoughts, knock on wood. Thoughts and prayers to the Freedom Flotilla. Much bigger people than me, for sure. I could say that.
Yeah.
100%.
Keep them safe, man. Keep them safe.
Absolutely. Brits, man, thanks for the $4.99.
I'm grabbing my coffee.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Brits, man, thanks for the $4.99. The Vanguard should make the 84 sheepdog from Dumb and Dumber their van, considering they're two fools trying to sheepdog people into the Democratic Party. Yeah, that was a good van. That was a good movie, Dumb and Dumber. I forgot. I forget about that movie, but that was funny. FU, thanks for the $10. Shithole 100. Some love for Russ's contempt for New York City there. Richard Namulala. Oh, I'll wait till Russ gets back for that one, since that's directed at him, since you're his Buffalo buddy. The Yuppies, thanks for the $5. Now, hear me out. I think the U.S. might not be the best country in the world. You don't say. You don't say, the Yuppies. I don't blame you. Hey, shout out to Jake in the booth tonight, everybody. Jake is here in the booth. Got a great crowd in here, 2,100 strong in the YouTube chats, and 971 strong over on Rumble. Smash that like button. We are at 540. Should be getting a 666 fairly soon at this rate. Great crowd in here this evening. Eric Rousseau, do you think the Israelis have dick pics of Macron's wife for blackmail purposes? Yeah, that is a good question, Eric Rousseau. Anything is possible. Anything's possible. Master Yoda, why should Israel prosper while your family suffers? Join the American Communist Party at acp.us/join. Thank you, Master Yoda. Shout out to Kit in the chat. Go follow Hardlands Media on X and on YouTube and support them. See the alligators lurking in the waters of the YouTube chat. That must mean Kit is around there somewhere. Eric Rousseau, grab him by the taco. I like that one. Thank you. R.I.P. Hot Lips Houlihan. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Grab him by the taco. Got that one. All right. Perfect. Let's see what else we got here. Ike Broflovsky, thanks for the $5. I solved all the world's problems. Kosovo is part of Israel. Always has been. Don't be bigot. Jokes aside, any good news? Any good news on what? Any good news on any of these fronts here this evening? What do we have tonight? We have, usually we start out the show with some of the lighter pieces. Today we're doing the opposite. Today we're kind of starting out with some of the more intense pieces and then trying to end on not necessarily an optimistic note, but a bit lighter. Where usually we go in the reverse order. All right. Russell is back in the chair, getting the headphones on in just a second. As soon as he gets that, I will have Richard's chat. All right. Just got to unmute that microphone. Rich from Buffalo said, "Glad to have you in Buffalo. It was a pleasure." Rich, now you.
Thank you, Rich. I cut you into the intermission.
Oh,
We've
that's
got
right.
a karaoke intermission. I sing clips of me singing 3 different songs. If you stick around, you can guess which one of those is my favorite song. One of those 3 is my favorite song.
Favorite song ever? Favorite song, period?
Yep.
All right.
Favorite song.
All right. That sounds like a fun activity. All right. Let's head on to segment number 2.
Okay. This story wound up being the feel-good movie of the year. So we did, I think it was last Sunday's show. Was it last Sunday's show? And I come off and I see these videos on X with Glenn. And these days you don't know if it's AI, what's going on. And I was so worried about how that was going to go. And in the end, it wound up being a heartwarming story of people standing by one of the most important journalists of our time. So here's what Glenn said about the videos. Last night, videos were released online depicting behavior in my private life. Some were distorted and others were not. They were published without my knowledge or consent, and its publication was therefore criminal. Though we do not yet know exactly who is responsible, we are close to knowing, and the motive was a maliciously political one. As for the content of the videos, I have no embarrassment or regret about them. The videos depict consenting adults engaged in intimate actions in their private lives. They all display fully consensual behavior, harming nobody. Obviously, it can be uncomfortable and unpleasant when your private behavior is made public against your will. That's why the behavior is private in the first place. But the only wrongdoing here is the criminal and malicious publication of the videos in an attempt to malign perceived political enemies and advance a political agenda. Others are, of course, free to form their own judgments, as some are prone to do about others' private lives. It won't change my work. I will continue all the many prongs of my journalism and pursue the causes most important to me exactly as before. Yeah, man. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And you know what? The response was like the final scene of It's a Wonderful Life. Because people that you would not expect, as you will see, jumped in and stood up for Glenn. So Caitlin Johnston, who you would expect, posted this video or reposted it. So Greenwald said this, and then a video surfaced of him engaging in some fairly mild kink, because that's the absolute worst thing anyone had on him. And then the entire political spectrum showed up to defend and support him. Yeah, I'm going to call that a solid win for humanity. Here, Caitlin. So let's see the video.
Are like an apocalyptic cult. They don't recognize moral limits. They don't acknowledge the humanity of Palestinians. They absolutely consider Palestinians to be animals. There's no way you can just do what they've done to Gaza. Bomb every remaining hospital and mosque and school. They're bombing electricity generators for hospitals so that ICU patients on incubators die. They've bombed shelters. They've constantly bombed people in tents. The number of children who are dead, including under 3 years old, is just, as a statistic, is shocking in itself. There's no question the number of people who have died that we hear from Gaza is extremely underestimated, because they only count the people who go through the morgue. Huge numbers of people are still lying under that rubble. There's massive rubble everywhere with bodies underneath who don't make it to the morgue. There are other people who die of disease or hunger who aren't counted because they're not actually killed with bombs or bullets, but they're victims of the Israeli action nonetheless. They've stripped the Palestinians in Gaza of all remaining humanity. I mean, they go to bed every night with Israeli bombers over their head. being terrorized every night that that's the last night their children are going to wake up. I don't even know how you get through this and then maintain any semblance of life, especially the million children in Gaza whose childhood is shaped by this. How do you function? How do you become a normal human being? How do you ever feel safe or stable? Or it's inconceivable.
Yep, that could have done it. Or he actually, there was a lot of speculation after these videos dropped on why his show wasn't on last week. Turns out it wasn't on because he was doing an interview with Tucker Carlson. Suleiman Ahmed, I thought all Muslims are homophobic bigots. He's been very supportive of Glenn through this. Glenn Greenwald said to Tucker Carlson that Israel and Mossad are spying on American citizens, that they also control the CIA and government. Then Israel leaks a video of Glenn Greenwald. To be clear, there is no evidence I'm aware of that proves that contention, but it seems rather obvious to a lot of us, myself included.
A set of files we released described the intelligence relationship that we have with Israel, that the NSA has with Israel. Israel is the #1 recipient of NSA technology and NSA intelligence. We share more with Israel, even more than we do with the Five Eyes partners who develop this technology. We give more to Israel, more intelligence, raw intelligence about Americans as well, and more intelligence know-how. But at the same time, the documents that describe who are our greatest intelligence threats, who are our greatest intelligence adversaries, who spies on us the most, who is capable of spying out the most, #1 on the list is Israel as well. Obviously, the Israelis use, the most dangerous spying programs like Pegasus and others come from Israel, are developed by Israel, are controlled by the Israelis, by which I simply mean to say that Israel uses every weapon at its disposal, including gathering incriminating information about its enemies.
You don't say. You don't say. And many of us have hypothesized why all across the political spectrum does everyone seem to not get what goes on in Israel on purpose? Why? Everybody from Kamala Harris to Lindsey Graham, they all act like they don't get what's going on here. And yeah, that is a plausible explanation because it's such an extreme case of intentional, willful blindness to the obvious, to these horrors, these crimes against humanity, this genocide. I don't know if money is enough to explain it. I don't know if it's simply if simply looking at the AIPAC contributions is enough to explain the nearly universal unwillingness of America's politicians to take this on. And that's where you get into what Whitney writes about a lot. And
well, yeah. No, they're a gang. They're basically gangsters. Now, gangsters have a lot of money to throw around, and they'd rather throw money at you than do whatever they have to do if that doesn't work.
And if the money doesn't work, they move to the blackmail.
They have backup plans. Yeah, of course.
And then if the blackmail doesn't work, don't get on a plane, right?
Right.
Don't get in a car. You better check your brake lines.
Right. Don't cross any railroad tracks on the way home from work.
Yeah, exactly. You might wind up shooting yourself in the chest and then hanging yourself afterwards.
Right.
In a remarkable feat. So Normal Island News put up, and it's worth reading if you want to go look this up, but the headline of their short article on this was, Israel's attempt to destroy Jewish journalist by outing him as gay somehow backfires. Sagar and Jetty. My friend Glenn Greenwald is a courageous warrior who remains one of the most important, principled figures of the 21st century. To whoever did this, you fucked with the wrong guy, and you'll live to regret this. This is not Fat Sagar. This is Thin Sagar.
The real Sagar.
Fat Sagar would ever put out something that based. George Galloway. He is an outstanding man. His sexual predilections are his own affair. His journalism for many years has been coruscating, forensic, fearless, and true. The worst people in the world are happy at his discomfort today, but that will pass, and they will still be evil. Well said. Now, there was a little exchange here that was quite good. Anthony Holland. He may be an outstanding journalist, but now those two boys have one more thing to process, which children should not have to which Galloway wisely responded, what, that their parent has sex?
Yeah, that their father's an adult.
Yeah, that's traumatic for anybody. So that just shows how normal gay adoption actually is.
Right.
Every child at some point has to be traumatized by the realization that their parent has sex. Why should they be the exception? Friend of show, Jimmy Dore. The people trying to silence and discredit Glenn have failed spectacularly. This will only bring more attention to his amazing journalism that threatens the powerful. That's what this is all about. The powerful trying to silence one of their strongest critics. This is their playbook, just like what they did to female journalist Kaja Ismailova. Should have practiced that before the show. From Azerbaijan, who had sex tapes released in an attempt to silence her. In 2012, after investigating corruption involving President Ilham Aliyev's family, she received a threatening letter with intimate photos taken by hidden cameras in her apartment. When she refused to stop her reporting, the videos were leaked online. Ismailova continued her work, and in 2019, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that Azerbaijan violated her privacy and freedom of expression, ordering the government to pay her damages. I remember that case. Dave Smith. Can you imagine a worse PR strategy than attacking someone in a vicious and personal way for the crime of feeling sad for children who are being slaughtered? Now, there was a little response to this that not only shows you how broad the spectrum of support is for Glenn, but what out of tune creeps the Zionists are, even here. Cernovich, I've tried telling them that and get yelled at or called Hamas. Even the right is sick of this shit. The Zionist chimes in. Grok, has Hamas released all the hostages they took on October 7th? It's not the mic drop you guys think it is. I promise you. Zaid Jilani, I think the Israelis are now in a PR death loop where they no longer gain support in any Western country, but are now mostly in-group signaling by repeating all the same slogans over and over. You've got a conversation going where Dave Smith, Cernovich, and Zaid Jilani are all on the same page about the Israelis. Okay? Like this. I don't think this is going the way they thought it would. Jake Shields. If they have blackmail on our journalists, just imagine what they have on our politicians. Hear, hear. Max Blumenthal. My take on these Glenn Greenwald videos is that I support military intervention to stop the genocide in Gaza, consistent with international law, and I encourage all of my fellow humans to do the same. Now that's a mic drop. Comrade Misty. Kind of cool to see so many people from both the left and the right coming to Greenwald's defense. I know left and right are truly meaningless in the big picture, but I still love to see it. This is the way. Batya Ungar Sargon. That one surprised me more than any because she's particularly unhinged, in my humble opinion. I stand with Glenn Greenwald against this unconscionable attempt to silence him. I don't agree with Glenn about some obvious issues that are very close to my heart, but I admire him endlessly, and I seek to be as courageous as he is, both professionally and personally. I am disgusted and utterly enraged by what was done to him. Stay strong, my friend. Now, Israel has no more devout a propagandist in its arsenal than Batya. When you've lost Batya, you know you've really crossed a line. Rob Schneider. Glenn Greenwald is and will continue to be perhaps the most important journalist in the world. In a world where even the word journalist no longer holds the same meaning, Mr. Greenwald brings back its legitimacy with conviction, honesty, courage, and fearlessness. Megyn Kelly. Love and respect Glenn Greenwald. Can't wait to have him on again soon and ignore this attempt to embarrass him as the irrelevant BS it is. Tim Pool. Glenn Greenwald is gay. That was pretty good, Tim. I'll give him that one. Matt Gates. I don't care what Glenn does in private if it doesn't hurt anyone. No evidence suggests it does. I'm glad he does what he does to expose corruption. That matters way more to me than how he likes to fuck. Well said. Well said, Mr.
It'd be nice if he were the Attorney General and instead of the unhinged, blood in her eyes maniac that we have now. But I guess the deep state wouldn't allow for that.
They wouldn't allow that. They would allow for nominating him,
right,
and then saying, we tried.
Right.
Charlie Kirk. I am a massive fan of Glenn's work, even though we don't agree on everything all the time. He's a free speech warrior, one of the most consistent journalists anywhere, and he's earned my respect. The leaking of his private videos is clearly politically motivated, criminal, and disgusting. The slurs against him are equally disgusting. If those who did this think they will advance their cause by trying to embarrass Glenn, if that ends up being true, they are dead wrong. The exact opposite is sadly true. All right. Very, very well said by Mr. Kirk. Candace. I said this on my last show ahead of maternity leave, but would like to reiterate here. Glenn Greenwald is one of the most important and honest voices of our time. Everyone should follow and support his journalism. You can subscribe to his channel here. And, when she makes a gesture like that, that's going to get you some subscribers. That has 2 million views.
Oh, yeah.
And to close it out, Brianna summed it up very well. I love that the one thing we can all agree on is supporting Glenn Greenwald. Now, I don't want to show any of the negative ones, but honestly, there's not much to show. You got Richard Spencer, asshole, and you've got Chloe Cole, who, she's damaged and has just kind of taken on the politics of the people who took her in, as very often happens with these people who wind up on the wrong side of the wokies. So I'm not going to blame her. She had a horrible thing done to her. I'm not going to attack her. But, what she said was pretty gross. I think she's been manipulated, and that girl's been through a lot. But other than those two, that's it, man. I mean, it's pretty much a 99.9% versus a couple of grifters and unhinged people attacking Glenn. So this was, hey, man, you want to see something hopeful, especially at this moment when so many of us feel like, we were making common cause on speech with some people who are, considered more right-wing than ourselves, who have been so disappointed by the way they've conducted themselves since Trump got into power. And even after October 7th, I mean, a lot of them have been terrible, including Batya. That's kind of why that surprises me, that she stood up for him. We've seen so many of these people who are willing to co-sign these suppression of student speech, deportation of visa holders. But remarkably, this is what we had hoped for when we tried to form a coalition with some of these elements on some of these issues. But this particular incident seems to have brought out the best in a lot of people. And it's nice to see, because we haven't seen very much of it lately.
Yeah, for sure. And, I made a short statement about this when I hosted Jimmy's on Friday. The thing I noticed is that you had people, as you just demonstrated there, of all political camps, unite behind support for Glenn. And you did have a lot of Israel supporters support him. So I'm not saying that all Israel supporters joined the pylon, but I am saying all who joined the pylon were Zionists. The only people I saw who actually tried to make this smear happen and work were like, Zionist accounts, mostly with a couple hundred followers tops, if that. And so I tried to, my appeal was to use this as a teachable moment to the Zionists who supported Glenn. Like, if you're a Zionist who supports Glenn, take a look at the people next to you who are going after Glenn for this and think, what the fuck is wrong with them? And maybe the same thing that's wrong with them that compels them to join this smear campaign, maybe that's the thing that's wrong with them that makes them so fervently supportive of Israel, right? It's like the people who joined this, but like I saw, like I said, these were we don't want to dignify them with showing their shit, but it was with the Israeli flag, emoji in the handle and the Star of David, they're like a Christian Zionist. And I love the one they quote tweeted his video clip where he talked about Israel has no moral limits. This guy says Israel has no moral limits, ha ha ha, as if there's a moral equivalency between
that's
genocide
totally equivalent,
and what he did. Like they are fucked up. They when I read ads for
but Michael Rappaport told us that's one of those selling points of Israel. You
Right,
come
is that you
over
can
here,
go-
you can fuck anybody
Yeah, right.
you want.
Yeah, they're gay, right?
It's
They're for gay rights.
Israel, right? Look, we got a pride flag right here, right where you get the kebabs.
No, there was something wrong with them. When I read our CBD ads from time to time, I mentioned how, about 4 years ago, I had interrupted sleep every night. That's the way it must be for these people. Like when you have to sleep and you're tired, but you can't, the signal just can't get from your brain to the rest of your nervous system. There's a disconnect there. There's a fuse there that's broken.
Yeah.
And that's the way these Zionists are. There's wiring in them that is broken, that is fucked up. It's not normal. Like the idea that you could think that there is a moral equivalency between a sex act, a consensual sex act between adults, legal adults, and doing what they're doing, you have to be just something is fucking wrong with you if that is where your morals guide you. There's nothing weird or perverted about having sex. What's weird and perverted is to try and ruin a guy over that and try to embarrass a guy with that. That's what's weird. You're weird if you watched that and thought, wow, this is going to take him down. Let me share it. You're a perv if that was your attitude towards it. There's nothing weird or perverted or aberrant or deviant about any of that.
Well, and what we're seeing with the Zionists, which we're going to run with that assumption, is the more desperate they get, the more everything they do is just not well thought out, and it's all backfiring on them. Really. So you thought in the year 2025 that video was going to end the career of an independent journalist not beholden to corporate media.
Right.
Really. Like because for him, his bosses are the people who consume his content.
Right.
As it should be. Did you really think they were all going to go? People who like Glenn Greenwald were suddenly going to go, Glenn, I knew he was gay, but I didn't know he actually acts on it.
No, I mean, it's of course. I mean, whoever thought this was going to take him down as a complete dipshit. First of all, the guy has stared down his own government. The guy has stared down much bigger and scarier adversaries than whatever, weakling thought that this was going to take him down.
His government in 2 countries.
In 2 countries, his husband, David Miranda, was targeted by the government as well. No, I mean, they are very, very tough. Glenn is a very, very brave and tough guy, and there was no chance that this was going to succeed, and it didn't. And the thing that was encouraging was to see essentially the entire internet unite in his
very heartening.
Yes,
very heartening in a dark time.
Heartening in a dark time, indeed. Can you believe this? My shirt is stained.
Yeah, what do you
There's
keep looking at here?
There's a stain on my shirt.
Well,
You
it's
see
not
that?
visible from here. You're drawing attention to it.
No? All right. Well, I'm going to call it a logo. I mean, not a stain.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's a faded logo. The stain right there on my shirt. God damn it. I like
Tell
this shirt, too.
tell them it's from your breast harness.
It's from my breast harness. Yeah, exactly. It's right in the nipple area right there. Look at that big spot. Yeah, now the audience is not going to be able to stop looking at the rest of the show. Eyes up here, everybody.
You got that whole Buttigieg.
Yeah, I got the Buttigieg thing. Yeah. Eyes up here, everybody. My eyes are here. All right. Snork Y2K, I am guessing that the ship won't make it east of Tobruk. That's Libya. All right. Up the Reds. Thanks for the $1.99. Appreciate that. Landrew is over here. Thanks for the $100.
Oh, look at what I got.
Oh, the real cowbell makes its return. Look at that. $100 for Landrew. Thank you very much for that. Greta.
I am Landrew. Landrew is dead.
Greta has more courage and humanity than all government administrations combined. Free Palestine. Much love and many hugs to all. You as well, Landrew. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. What happened? I tried to put a heart on that. It didn't work. Sorry. Well, I did it. Hopefully it shows up on your end. Up the Red says, Greta's off my shit list. There you go. Nicely done. I don't have the balls to go on a trip like that. Yeah, no, of course. Much respect to Greta Thunberg. Matrix, thanks for the $4.99. Sphincter Knuckle Buster. Thank you, Matrix. Appreciate that very much. Hey, we are at 2,582 in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, 25.
And at 885 likes. All
This
right.
chair is so much better for that than the Archie Bunker chair.
Oh, yeah. You got the regular chair back. That's nice.
Yeah.
Kenman says
much
nice...
more comfortable.
Yeah, I bet.
No, you see, I had to keep crossing my legs and uncrossing them till I get through the show with that chair.
Yeah, no, I bet that was tough stuff. Nice to know that 3 Game of Thrones stars are involved in Free Palestine movement. Lena Headey, Carice Van Houten, and Liam Cunningham. Oh, that's interesting. I did not see. I don't know Game of Thrones. I never watched Game of Thrones. Let's see.
He didn't even, when we first started pulling our tweets, he had to ask me how to say Khaleesi.
Yeah, I didn't even know that for sure. In 1994, false flag specialist Israel set off a car bomb outside its embassy in London, according to MI5 whistleblower Annie Michonne. They framed 2 Palestinians for the attack. Dismantle Zionism. Thank you, Which Shy Go. I was getting ready to support Greta for putting her life on the line and using her platform, says E.O. Shush, to stop a famine, but she didn't own the libs in her Bon Voyage speech, so I can't get behind it. Thank you for that, E.O. Shush. Appreciate that very much. Priorities straight there. Didn't Greta give a hardcore rant for Ukraine against evil Russia? You know, that's possible. It's possible she did. You know what she also did? She got on the goddamn boat.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
you know, I mean, you know, I wouldn't agree with her on that, but, you know, she got on the boat, man. God personally speaks out to us, but we rarely hear. If you get a premonition of something you can't know, it's God speaking. To verify, is that you, God? God will reveal, it is I. Thanks, Rubber Toe, for that spirituality tonight. We are in desperate need of that.
We need some
podcast.
churching up around here,
Yes,
like
we
no
need
other
some
podcast.
Jesus around here. Yeah, exactly. I took my unstable, borderline bipolar girlfriend to Bleecker Street, got her the Nona slice. She said it was good. Good. All right. Well, congratulations, man. Congratulations.
I'm glad she liked it.
I'm glad she liked it. Hope things got better from there for you.
Did that swinger like right from depressive to manic?
Right. Yeah. She said it was good. I predict that Russ's favorite song is Bop by Hanson. Thank you, Kenman G.
Is it that obvious?
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's move right on along here. Wait, do we have... Oh, no, we can't move right on along yet because I got to go in order. All right, folks, so we are going to take a pause from one of our dissident sponsors, musical artist named John Koa. So here on Do Dissidents, we're all about building a vibrant community of engaged listeners who connect with authentic voices and independent thought. And speaking of authentic voices, we do want to spotlight John Koa, who's a compelling solo artist who's not just a longtime listener of the program, but a true part of the dissident community. John's 34-song collection, A to Z, is getting its finishing touches. This is a massive undertaking, and a release strategy for this many songs is currently being devised, so its arrival is imminent. This project is a unique blend of originals and powerful covers that John has honed over the years on stage in Los Angeles, Tokyo, and other cities around the world, performing live usually with just 2 or 3 other musicians. He plays and mixes the entire album himself, creating a distinct retro-modern sound that's entirely his own. You'll hear compelling interpretations of tracks like Jackson Browne's Dr. My Eyes, Ben Harper's Excuse Me, Mister, and the Stones' Give Me Shelter, songs whose lyrics, it turns out, feel remarkably timely. While A to Z prepares for its launch, make sure you've caught up with John's 2 latest studio singles on all of your favorite streaming platforms. So he is on Spotify, he is on Apple, he's also on X and YouTube as John Koah. So YouTube channel is at John Koah, Koah. You can go to his website, which has links to all of his socials at this handy link, dudissidents.com/Koah. All righty. Beautiful. All right. So let's move right on along here. Get my papers in order. I'm like a flustered public defendant here.
That happened to me once. The first pinch I took, the public defender came in, and no, that really happened, man.
Yeah.
Came in. He was this flustered, chubby guy with like a stack of files like this, who clearly didn't know who I was, what my case was. I got very lucky. I got arrested with a rich kid. So anything they did for him, they had to do for me. So basically his lawyer was working for me.
Right.
I had been left with that guy, I'd still be in there.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right. Let's move right on along here. Okay, folks. So we're going to talk now about Palantir. I hope you guys are wearing cheap pants because you're about to shit all over them. So I hope you didn't wear your nicest pants this evening. So
I'm looking forward to this segment.
Oh yeah, this is pretty scary stuff. So here is Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir. We've done a few segments on Palantir and on Alex Karp, but just to reacquaint you or to acquaint you for the first time, if you haven't seen any of those segments, here he is admitting that his AI systems are used for the benefit of the IDF in Gaza.
A few people get wealthy, and if you said platitudes that were obviously stupid, you could...
You're getting wealthy off of killing Palestinians. With Palantir kills Palestinians with their AI and technology.
Oh.
You're killing my family in Palestine.
Yeah. And, you know...
How do you sleep at night?
Well, if you... Do you want to hear my answer?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, I think the primary cause of death to
really
Palestinians...
Funny.
Okay.
Hilarious.
Do you want to hear the answer, or do you want to go?
Hilarious.
Well, you don't want to hear an answer? Obviously. So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will...
Can we get security up there?
That's all true. We've done several segments on that. That is not the focus of this segment because the focus...
lavender.
Yep, exactly. So you guys can take a look at those other segments that we've done. I will link to them when we clip this video. But this also gives you some insight into the philosophy of Alex Karp. This is a newer video from the Economic Club of Chicago, where the Palantir CEO says, the best way to change the world, humiliate your enemy and then get rich. So here he is bragging about the closeness between Palantir and the United States government, which he admits is kind of taboo in tech world. You know, they're supposed to be libertarians, right? They're supposed to be the move fast, break things rebels. And he's like, no, we do it a different way. Here he is explaining that.
Idea that you would build your company around... In Silicon Valley, the idea that you would build your company around helping the U.S. government was viewed as kind of stupid, which in Silicon Valley is worse than being bad. And so we were very controversial, and That's changed a lot, partly because people realized it was wrong, and quite frankly, because if somebody makes a lot of money on something, then it must be right. So we've changed the world by humiliating people and getting rich. It's the most effective way for social change is humiliate your enemy and make them poorer. And that's how social change actually happens. And so I think we and then Palantir alumni really played a huge role in that. But the controversy has been a really big part of what our DNA and being very unpopular for 17, 18 years.
Oh, yeah. So doesn't this guy look like someone you would trust with all of your most sensitive information? Yeah,
absolutely.
Seems like a great guy.
Absolutely.
Great guy.
He seems very well intended.
Yeah, just a real solid guy who smirks at a woman who's lost family in Gaza thanks to his AI, who says very unashamedly that, it's better to be bad than to be stupid, and we partner with the United States government in order to enrich ourselves to the humiliation of our adversaries. That's the path to social change. Yeah, so Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans is a write-up from the New York Times. Decent amount of reading here, folks, but it's really chilling. In March, President Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies, raising questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. Mr. Trump has not publicly talked about the effort since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. In particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, the data analysis and technology firm. The Trump administration has expanded Palantir's work across the federal government in recent months. The company has received more than $113 million in federal government spending since Mr. Trump took office, according to public records, including additional funds from existing contracts as well as new contracts with the Department of Homeland Security and the Pentagon. This does not include a $795 million contract that the Department of Defense awarded the company last week, which has not been spent. Representatives of Palantir are also speaking to at least two other agencies, the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service, about buying its technology, according to 6 government officials and Palantir employees with knowledge of the discussions. The push has put a key Palantir product called Foundry into at least 4 federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security, the Health and Human Services Department. Widely adopting Foundry, which organizes and analyzes data, paves the way for Mr. Trump to easily merge information from different agencies, the government officials said. Creating detailed portraits of Americans based on government data is not just a pipe dream. The Trump administration has already sought access to hundreds of data points on citizens and others through government databases, including their bank account numbers, the amount of their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status. Mr. Trump could potentially use such information to advance his political agenda by policing immigrants and punishing critics, Democratic lawmakers and critics have said. Privacy advocates, student unions, and labor rights organizations have filed lawsuits to block data access, questioning whether the government could weaponize people's personal information. Palantir's selection as a chief vendor for the project was driven by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, according to the government officials. At least 3 DOGE members formerly worked at Palantir, while 2 others had worked at companies funded by Peter Thiel, an investor and a founder of Palantir. Okay, quick game break. First of all, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. To outsource to a private company the construction of a centralized database that merges data from all of these different government agencies, essentially creating a government profile of everyone if that's what they want to do. And it sounds very much like that is what they want to do. And it sounds, based on this reporting, that was really, and I remember people saying this at the time, and a lot of people did not believe them, seems like that was really the purpose of Doge, does it not? Because what did Doge save? They saved $150 billion? No, they ended up saving $9 billion. $9 billion was what ended up in the bill. $9 billion for all that sound and fury about $2 trillion, down to $1 trillion, down to $500 billion, down to $150 billion, down to $9 billion. It kind of seems like the point of Doge was to gather people's information.
Yes.
Because they did a whole lot of snooping around and not a whole lot of cutting. So that seems to be what that was all about. Some current and former Palantir employees have been unnerved by the work. The company risks becoming the face of Mr. Trump's political agenda, 4 employees said, and could be vulnerable if data on Americans is breached or hacked. Several tried to distance the company from the efforts, saying any decisions about a merged database of personal information rest with Mr. Trump and not the firm. This month, 13 former employees signed a letter urging Palantir to stop its endeavors with Mr. Trump. Linda Chia, a signee who was Palantir engineer until last year, said the problem was not with the company's technology, but with how the Trump administration intended to use it. Data that is collected for one reason should not be repurposed for other uses, Ms. Chia said. Combining all that data, even with the noblest of intentions, significantly increases the risk of misuse. Well, it basically usurps the whole warrant process, right? I mean, if you already have all this information in one place, then everyone is a suspect all the time for whatever the government wants.
We're all Winston Smith now.
Yes, exactly. Mario Trulio, a lawyer with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a digital rights group, said the government typically collected data for good reasons, such as to accurately levy taxes. But, quote, if people can't trust that the data they are giving the government will be protected, that it will be used for things other than what they gave it for, it will lead to a crisis of trust, he said. The White House did not comment on the use of Palantir's technology and referred to Mr. Trump's executive order, which said he wanted to, quote, eliminate information silos and streamline data collection across all agencies to increase government efficiency and save hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Palantir, which was founded in 2003 by Alex Karp and Mr. Thiel and went public in 2020, specializes in finding patterns in data and presenting the information in ways that are easy to process and navigate, such as charts and maps. Its main products include Foundry, a data analytics platform, and Gotham, which helps organize and draw conclusions from data and is tailored for security and defense purposes. This sounds an awful lot to me like social credit scores. That's what this sounds an awful lot like. Only worse. In an interview last year, Mr. Karp, Palantir's chief executive, said the company's role was the finding of hidden things by sifting through data. Palantir has long worked with the federal government. Its government contracts span the Defense Department and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. During the pandemic, the Biden administration signed a contract with Palantir to manage distribution of vaccines through the CDC. Oh, we don't like that, do we? When Biden's president, we hate that. So why not give this guy $1 billion worth of contracts to say, hey, you know what? That thing you did there, why don't we just put all of these agencies' information in your hands, and you can create a massive centralized database where we can find out whatever we want about whoever we want, whenever we want it, for whatever reason we want it for. That sounds like a great idea. That sounds like something MAGA voted for, right? Where's all the I voted for this people? Where are you? What do you have to say about this? Did you vote for this? I don't think so, but you did.
Well, can you imagine if this were happening under Biden?
Oh, forget it.
It would be January 6 times 6.
Yeah, right, exactly. Be January 36. Mr. Trump's election in November boosted Palantir's stock, which has risen more than 140% since then. Mr. Karp, who donated to the Democratic Party last year, that's right, has welcomed Mr. Trump's win and called Mr. Musk the most qualified person in the world to remake the U.S. government. What did I tell you over and over and over again about these people? They believe nothing. They believe nothing. They believe in the path of least resistance to the greatest amount of wealth that they can amass support themselves. That is
no,
all they care
Elon
about.
was your billionaire.
Right.
Elon was your billionaire. Elon, the union buster, went in to fix the government for working people. That's what he's all about, man. That's what he's all about. He gets up every day thinking about how he can help the average American.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's so fucking absurd, man. It's so absurd. How much of a peasant mind do you have to look at these people and think they care about you? I mean, look, they've been smarter than the Democrats in that the Democrats' big mistake is they don't hide their contempt. They make it very obvious they are elites, they are aristocrats, and they fucking hate you. They make that really, really clear. These people hate you as much, if not more, but they're very good at pretending they don't.
Right.
And they're smart enough to say, okay, well, what do people really hate? What kinds of cultural issues really get them mad? Well, I'm going to signal that I'm with them on those issues, and then I'll be like, they'll think I'm just folks.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
My, richest man in the world's just folks.
Yep.
Just folks, because he agrees with you about drag queens at libraries.
Right.
He's just folks.
Exactly. All right, so let's go on to some of the takes on this, because I think that some of these people put it very well. We've been warning you for years, says Sir Escanor. Trump didn't drain the swamp. He outsourced it to Palantir. And now he's handing over your entire digital soul, your data, your metadata, your biometric signature to a surveillance empire with deep ties to Israel, defense contractors, and the beast system itself. This isn't 5D chess. It's full spectrum submission. The same man who sold you freedom is now centralizing control. You didn't win. You got assimilated. Yes, but sure. Trust the plan. Trademark. Hope you enjoy your AI dossier you built. He signed it. Palantir owns it. Yes. Whitney Webb. Now, this is from quite a ways back. This is from January. Yeah. But this rings a bell. And it should ring a bell to everybody. Palantir is not just a military contractor. It was a company created to privatize and house the Bush-era neocon-run surveillance program, Total Information Awareness Program, housed previously at DARPA and put under increased CIA control, though the CIA was also intimately involved with TIA. TIA was shut down by Congress because it would have eradicated the constitutional right to privacy, but, very key here to understand, Palantir has accomplished that and gotten away with it because it is a private sector entity. Yes, Palantir's earliest fundraiser besides Peter Thiel, the CIA. Palantir's first client for its first several years as a company, the CIA. Where did Palantir engineers every 2 weeks for years for guidance to developing their products? CIA headquarters. Palantir's originally intended clients per CEO Alex Karp, the CIA. If there was a CIA front company, if there ever was, a CIA front company, it's Palantir, though Peter Thiel has since quipped that the CIA is a front for Palantir. Ian Smith, all right, this is a good one. I like this one. Donald Trump just handed Palantir the contract to build the federal AI database, which will be the single most dangerous consolidation of power in modern American history. Palantir isn't a tech company. It's a surveillance machine born inside the CIA, funded through In-Q-Tel and run by Peter Thiel, a billionaire data oligarch who openly brags about crushing right-wing populist movements in Europe with his software. Now he's here building the backbone of American AI. This is the same Peter Thiel who groomed the character of J.D. Vance, shapes national AI policymaker as an unelected power broker, pretends to be anti-woke while embedding Palantir across every global intelligence agency. And Trump, the guy who ran on Drain the Swamp, just handed him the keys. You are watching a merger of big tech, big government, and artificial intelligence branded as patriotism. They're not creating tools. They're building infrastructure for digital authoritarianism. Palantir has already been used for pre-crime arrests and pandemic lockdown enforcement, and now it's being given access to national databases under the flag of security, not to mention, of course, genocide in Gaza, which this sounds like more of a Chud-adjacent account who's less inclined to mention that, but that is, of course, well documented as well. This isn't the Patriot Act 2.0. This is Revelation 13 in real time. He
And that one's
causes
the whole ball game.
That's the whole ball game right there. Revelation 13. He causes all to receive a mark no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. You think the mark will look like a chip. It'll look like this. That's a good point. Right. In other words, yeah, they don't need to put a chip in you if they have this.
Yeah.
And AI assigning you a risk score, a predictive model determining your access to banking, travel, and medicine, a tech priesthood deciding who's dangerous, and Trump is funding it. Yes, that is pretty terrifying stuff. Palantir is the digital beast system. Thiel is its architect, and conservatives are sleepwalking into their own captivity, cheering as their anti-establishment hero turns the surveillance state into a machine learning monster. This isn't freedom. This is Babel in binary. Well said. That
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yes. That is very dark stuff. Very scary stuff. Now, what can we do about this? What can you in the audience do about this? Because you read something like this, knowing the pace at which these things get built, knowing how maniacal these people are, you say, well, what can we do in response? Well, folks, I have 2 words for you. 2 words for you. Pura vida. Pura vida. Now, stick with me here.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
Kind of a curveball, I know.
I didn't see that coming.
Costa Rica, baby. Pura vida.
Pura
Go to Costa Rica.
Pura vida.
Pura vida. That's right. Russ has been there. Pura vida. Enjoy zip lining. Enjoy whitewater rafting. Community dining. Horseback riding by the lovely beaches. Great wildlife there. Look at that cute little guy. The sloth.
Yep.
How could you not like a sloth? Right?
Mm-hmm.
How could you not like a sloth? Great for expats. Affordable living. Pura vida, Spanish phrase that translates to pure life or simple life, but has a much broader meaning in Costa Rican culture. It's not just a literal translation. It's a way of life, a mindset, and a phrase used in many different contexts. But essentially it means live a simple, fulfilling life. That's my advice. Find a place you can go that's cheap to live, where you can just get away from this and get away from this, because this is hell. This is absolute hell. This country is going to hell. It's turning into hell. This guy was a Democrat. Joe Biden brought him into the tent for the CDC programming, and just as one administration sets the precedent for the other to escalate and escalate and escalate. I don't trust the Democrats to win in 2028. I think they'll do okay in the midterms. I don't trust them to win in 2028, which means if you got Vance, then these guys, I mean, forget it. These guys will be running the entire government. But even if the Democrats do manage to win, even if the Democrats do manage to win, I don't trust them to reverse any of this, because once this stuff gets built, it does not get disassembled. So this is hell. This is just a hell. The country has gone to hell. This is a surveillance state. This is digital authoritarianism. This is what Whitney Webb has been talking about for a very long time. And people didn't believe her because they said, no, these are private sector guys. These are entrepreneurs. They're cool. They're with us. They're the Mavericks. They're going to come in and they're going to stick it to the establishment on our behalf. It couldn't be that they see the biggest and most lucrative contracts
cool elites
they can ever imagine. The United States government is going to pay them hundreds of millions of dollars at a clip to do their bidding. Not only is that huge money, but just as important to them, because these guys tend to move fast and break things and play fast and loose with things like accounting and taxes and things. Now they're doing the government's work. They're in. They're never gonna be bothered. They're never gonna be harassed. Just the opposite. They're the cops now. So this is terrifying. It's terrifying. I cannot overstate the severity of this, which is why, find a place that's cheap to live and, pura vida.
I well done, sir. I like that Costa Rica section. All right. With this is
this guy ain't afraid of no Peter Thiel.
Yeah,
you know what you got, Alex Carp.
You know what you got in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I mean, the sloths are not common, but like the monkeys are all over.
Yeah, the monkeys will roll up on you and steal your glasses. Everywhere. Yeah.
Well, they're not as aggressive as in India. In
Okay.
India, they're like, yo, you give up your shit, motherfucker. I'll fuck you up. They don't bother you in Costa Rica, at least in my experience. Yeah, we're hitting an inflection point in society now. A lot of what Marx predicted is here. He predicted that the end stage of capitalism would be looting the treasury, that the capitalists with nothing left to steal would steal the government money. That's where we are. Also, we are at this moment, and I really think this is what the fight is about. We're hitting the moment where you're kind of getting the economic singularity, where the technology is finally here that makes capitalism not make sense anymore. And at that point, you could go in two directions. We've hit that potential Star Trek world, right? Where people don't really have to work as much. You know, we're not at the point where no one would have to work, but we're at the point where the technology could feasibly start to take the burden off of humanity, and you start to get a more communist kind of a system and a universal basic income and something more along those lines. The other direction you could go with this technology is feudalism, right? Where you have what labor you need, you barely pay for, and you just have a beaten, suppressed population ruled over by a narrow, incredibly wealthy and privileged aristocracy. That's what these people are building here. The other direction is socialism, and I think part of the urgency with which they're building this is because these are not dumb guys. They know that. They know this technology. The natural implication of it is the dismantling of capitalism. You dismantle capitalism, they lose the only thing they care about: power, privilege, and status. That's all these people care about. That's all they run on.
Right.
All this money they have, most of it's on paper. They don't feel it. Doesn't really affect them. It's in principle. That's why they're going after more tax cuts for money they don't need and would never even notice when it's deposited in their bank account. It's a mindset. It's a mindset to take as much as possible from everybody else and concentrate it all into their hands, which also at this moment in history is defensive. They don't want people empowered. They don't want people to be able to use this technology to liberate themselves from being members of the laboring class, from having to sweat and live in fear and stress about how they're going to feed their families. They don't want that world to end. Their power relies on that world continuing. They know the more empowered workers become, the more it's probably going to be at their expense. The more they're going to question, why do we have guys with this much money? Which seems like a very obvious question. This is going to get very ugly. That is the fight of our times. And it's going to be a fight not just within this country, which it looks like this country is going to represent the darkest, most dystopian manifestation of this technology. This country is going to go techno-feudalism. There will be other countries around the world that are fighting to use this technology to arrive at that kind of Star Trek socialism. That is going to be the fight. And this technology is very quickly outstripping the safeguards we have to protect ourselves against it. You got to remember, America develops this kind of fascist AI surveillance state. What are other countries going to do that want to battle that? They're going to have to firewall themselves from American computer systems.
Right. But
They
that's
can't
what China
risk
does
having,
now. That's what because they have to.
Right. They can't risk having those systems get into their systems. When you look at the whole effect of everything that they're doing, to Keaton's point about Costa Rica, yeah, man. I was just reading articles. It's not just foreigners not wanting to come to America now because of the way they're harassing people at the border. There are Americans who are not leaving the country because they don't want to risk it, because they're hearing stories about people getting bothered coming back, right? Just now, man, we have a very kind patron of ours was offering to show me around Toronto, and he called me. He was like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't. You know, it's not really worth it. You don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll hold you at the border for hours, and it's not worth the headache. And I didn't go.
Right.
You know, that is the I certainly would have gone if this had not been going on in the country right now. So what's the effect of that? We're behind an iron curtain, right? Like they're trying to cut off America from the rest of the world. They're trying to make it such that nobody wants to come in, and the people who are in can't get out. I mean, this is what they told us communism was. Right. This is
well, they can get out. They just can't come back.
They can't come back.
Leave, but you can't come back.
Well, not even. I was reading a story. They set up a checkpoint from the border into Canada on the West Coast, and they were questioning people why they were traveling up there.
Yeah.
So why would you do that? Why would you do that? You're trying to make people afraid to leave.
Right.
You're trying to lock everybody in. You're creating this isolated, dystopian, feudal state. So yeah, man, I mean, what you're saying, you presented it in a humorous way. And I know most people can't do that. So I don't want to be flip about just go to another country. But yeah, I mean, we give it to you straight. We always have. Things are not looking good here. You know, the hope is in things like what we just saw with Glenn Greenwald that we reported tonight.
Right.
Hope is with Anonymous and groups like that have mastery of this technology from the inside. And I'm sure you have people with those sympathies, as we even saw in your story, who are from Palantir, who don't like where all of this is going. Like, your best hope is in rebellion. And even within these horrible systems, you always have some rebels on the inside. That's your best hope for this country.
Yes, I would say that is true. All right, we're going to go into part 2 of this. All right, so this puts it in even more of a humorous light. So we just did a full segment on this. Trump taps Palantir to compile data on Americans. And in response to this, I thought I would show you this video here to show some of the awkwardness at InfoWars when Nick Fuentes, this was about a month ago, but I think this is worth showing right now. So this is why I say, what did I say? I say Alex Jones is the Cenk Uygur of conspiracy theorists, right? He has a real conspiracy guy here, Nick Fuentes, on, who starts going off about Palantir and JD Vance, and that's off brand. That's off brand. So things get kind of awkward.
These new generation defense contractors, they're all over Unit 8200. They're all over Ehud Barak. You know, Palantir, all these new generation defense contractors, they're all over Unit 8200. They're all over Ehud Barak over there in Israel. It's filled with shadowy corporations that are funneling their technology into our country. We're going to trust them in our
Well, I'll say this about Palantir. It's all really the hot thing to say it runs everything, and it's so big. It's tiny compared to the other AI companies and defense stuff. It is trying to make a run at getting a bunch of big contracts, and so I'm not defending what it does. My point is, compared to all these other big companies, it's tiny, and that's why you see the left attacking it a bunch too. So I see a weird alliance with kind of the anti-Israel folks and the left with the Muslims and like Palantir. It's the big thing. I mean, its contracts are tiny compared to the other stuff.
But what Palantir is a privatization of the surveillance state. They work for the CIA. They come from the CIA.
But what I've seen is Palantir has been trying to reform the government contracting process.
Oh, is that right?
Oh,
they're
wow.
the reformers. Oh,
Wow.
that's the spin. Okay, that's what we're going with. Okay, they're trying to reform the government contracting.
Trying to make it more competitive and more efficient, but what they're doing is they're funneling all of our data into the government. Clearview AI is part of that suite. They ripped everybody's faces off of Facebook. Palantir's involved in Gaza doing facial recognition so they know which Palestinians to blow up with drones. And JD Vance is the protege of Peter Thiel, who's the co-founder of Palantir. That's like George Bush all over again. That's like George Bush, head of the CIA, being Reagan's vice president.
That's what Whitney Webb said, right? Or was it Whitney Webb? No, it was one of the other tweets in the last segment. They said this is all Bush-era infrastructure. This is all post 9/11 infrastructure.
Well, yeah. We talked to her about that when we had her on Jimmy's. Yeah, they decided to start outsourcing stuff in order to evade constitutional protections that a government agency would be subject to.
Exactly.
So you don't like Vance? I think Vance is awesome.
Oh, I think he's
he's
terrible.
awesome.
I don't. First of all, I think he's fake. Everything about him is fake. His name's fake. His venture capital career is fake. His story's fake. He's a fake Marine. He's a fake populist.
A fake Marine.
He did press releases. He wrote press releases.
All right, let's go to commercial. Let's get this guy back in here. Yeah.
Whoever booked this guy, I'm going to eat your fucking liver on the break.
In news releases.
Well, I mean, he was over in Iraq. He never said he was a war hero.
Oh, he wasn't in combat, but he makes.
But he's not like Senator Blumenthal that was never out of the country and said he was in combat in Vietnam. He ran the Toys for Tots program at the Senate. I mean, hold on.
No, he's not like the Democrat who was worse.
I know Vance. I followed him. He's always said, "Well, I was just over there in the press. I'm not like the real heroes." But he was in Iraq.
But he's over there the other week doing a photo shoot where he's shooting guns, hoorah, acting like he's some kind of combatant. He was a journalist
You're getting
in the
me in a
Marines,
lot
which
of
is what they
trouble
do.
here. I still owe $800 billion to the parents of Sandy Hook, and I'm completely dependent on this cabal for my daily bread. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up right now, Nick. Shut the fuck up. Do you see the panic on my face? Take a hint and shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
This is what these people do.
Well, hold on a minute.
Hold on a minute.
So if you go out and shoot guns, you're being a poser now? I mean, if you're...
I think he's a serious poser, yeah. I think he's trying to make it seem like he's some kind of... Yeah.
So he's like Tampon Tim, think you put shotguns in the back of the shotgun?
I think so, yeah. I think that's...
I don't think that's fair.
Well,
he's never said he was a combat Marine.
He might not have said that, but I think that's sort of the... Do people know that he was writing press releases, or do they think that he's some kind of a Marine, that he was doing missions? Or I think he's creating the perception that he's out there fighting bad guys or something. He was writing press releases.
No, he's trying to figure out what he's going to do.
He's trying to figure out how to get out of this.
He's so expressive. I mean, the thing about Alex Jones, this is what makes him gold to watch. Everything about him is just so expressive. Look at his expression.
Know that he was writing press releases, or do they think that he's some kind of a Marine, that he was doing missions? Or I think he's creating the perception that he's out there fighting bad guys or something. He was writing press releases.
No, I mean, I think DHS had Gnome as Commando Barbie, but I think she's doing a good job.
Well, she does the same thing. They wear the uniform, they shoot the guns. Hoorah, it's a Marine as vice president. Not to mention his name is fake. He's a venture capitalist, but he was a no.
I mean, his name's fake. He took his family name.
Hamill, Bowman, Vance.
Is his name, yeah.
He changed his name 3 times. He changed his name to coincide with the release of his book. And the book, by the way, he wrote the book under the tutelage of David Frum, neocon, speechwriter for George Bush. And Frum,
I think he did a great job in the debates. I think he's great.
He did good in the debate. He's good at talking. I'll give him that, but I don't trust him. I think he's
all right. Let's go. All right, Nick Fuentes. You can find him on what is it, BitChute, wherever the hell you are now. Anyway, thanks. Get the hell out. I mean, but rat. I got this rat. Yeah. I mean, that is the blue-pilled version of the red pill. That's the jank.
Yes.
That's the TYT of the red pill world, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, no, Palantir, they're a bunch of reformers, and J.D. Vance is a great guy. No, J.D. Vance is the liaison between MAGA and this really scary dystopian shit.
Exactly.
That's why he's there. That is why he's there. That is his purpose. That's why they needed him. And, man, asset out of containment. That's what they said in the new Jurassic Park when the dinosaur escapes the cage. We have an asset out of containment. That's Nick Fuentes there.
Yeah, Alex Jones is one of these sacred cows in certain segments. You know, when we've done segments mocking Alex Jones, it's one of there are certain things where, like, you know, you hit a third rail with these people and they go berserk. I don't understand how this fucking Hulk Hogan impersonator goes on ranting and raving for 3 hours and you don't see that he's a performer. He's a performer, he's a con artist and a clown. Oh, he was right about this and that. Dude, you talk that much, that many days, you're going to be right about some shit. Like, nobody with the resources would ever bother. I would love if somebody did his batting average, like would sit down and listen to 10,000 hours of Alex Jones, because I promise you 99% of what he says is total bullshit.
Well,
once in a while, stop clock. You're gonna just law of averages. You're gonna hit on some unlikely thing that you said that actually went ahead and happened.
Well, and he's gotten worse since he's branded himself. The worst thing you could do if you're in the news and commentary business is brand yourself and make yourself a partisan, make yourself a cheerleader for one side, because then you're wed to that and you can't separate yourself from it without, you know, suffering great economic losses that you can't always afford because you've built the business up to sustain a certain level of activity. And if you lose that, you got to let people go. You got to close shop. You don't want to do that. You know, Alex Jones had never really entertained electoral politics until 2016 when he backed Trump. And, you know, as someone who had followed his work since the Loose Change documentary, which I already knew most of that stuff before I saw that movie. That's one of the reasons why I kind of got into him, because when I was watching, okay. I remember my college roommate calls me up to his dorm room. You got to watch this movie. I said, what's the movie? He says, 9/11 was an inside job. I said, yeah, I know that, but what's the movie? He says, it's called Loose Change. I said, all right, I'll come up, we'll watch it. And yeah, so that's how I got to know him. The point is, I think he was more accurate when he was less branded. Once you brand yourself and you become a loyalist, now look, you make yourself ridiculous. Oh, Palantir or reformer. I mean, come on. This is the
look at him struggling to get control of the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Control of the guest to shut down everything that he's saying, because look, he still owes a lot of money on these lawsuits, and basically these are his patrons that he's talking about.
Right.
That whole Palantir world, they're the ones who are sustaining him now.
Right. Exactly.
The whole PayPal mafia, that's his bread and butter.
Right. Exactly. That's the brand. Sammy, thanks for the $4.99. Appreciate that. Did you see that Lady G tweet about how he hopes Greta can swim? Who's Lady G? I don't know who that is. But yeah, I've saw a lot of nastiness about that from, you know, predictable people. Excuse me, 50 milligrams.
Usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Thanks to the $4.99. Made some organic hot dogs for me and my grandma. Now we are sitting back watching our two favorite JOOs. All right, well, enjoy the organic hot dogs. You're having a very Jewish evening. Eating hot dogs, watching Do Dissidents. Abolish Israel. Thank you, Anthony Ringett. Charlie, thanks for the $10. You guys are getting more hater trolls in the chat. Just means you're doing the right thing. Are we getting hater trolls tonight? We got a big crowd tonight, so, you know, it could be some of them in there. We love the trolls. We love the haters. Merry Christmas, especially to the haters. You see Miller, thanks for $5. Appreciate that. Debsmo says, bravo. Thanks for the $10, Debsmo. Hey, Landrew is back with another $100. Wow.
Damn.
Thank you, Landrew. Enormous respect to both you and Glenn Greenwald, heroes speaking out for us all. Free Palestine. Well, thank you. That is very kind of you to say.
I am Landrew. Landrew is dead.
That is perhaps too kind of you to say. It's funny. All right, that's funny. Okay, Fat Not So Fat, thanks for the $1.99. Appreciate that. Apparently me and Glenn share same kink. Thanks, Fat Not So Fat. Where are we at here? Dedamod, Rock Hudson's last film in 1984 was The Ambassador. Taking place in Israel, it revolves around a Mossad sex tape with a promiscuous wife of the U.S. ambassador. For most of the film, it treats Arabs and Jews equally, but in the end, the Palestinians become godless barbarians, massacring friend and foe alike. Vito P. I never dignified a release of those kinds of videos by watching them, especially people I admire. Their personal lives are their business. Cancer sucks. You guys rock. Thank you, Vito. Will the real Batya please stand up? Thank you. What happens if evidence points to Israel? Charlie Kirk will still shill for Israel. Quite possible. J Bird D, thanks for the $50. Let's have a cowbell for J Bird. The support for Glenn is warranted and heartwarming. I'm glad that luminaries have closed ranks around him. However, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall while Sagar was watching the sex video. Yeah.
You see that, Clarence?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Way to go.
Way to go. That's right. Sean Bean, also from GOT, was in Vancouver, Canada last year. Then he saw a Palestinian protest taking place, then joined in with the protest. Oh, Sean Bean. Yeah, he was in the first Game of Thrones. They killed him off at the end. Everybody thought he was going to be like the star of the series, and they ended up killing his character off in the season 1 finale. I remember that. Okay. Wow, we got a lot of super chats. Thank you for your generosity tonight, everybody. We got a great crowd in here, 2,700 strong in the YouTube chat, 1,300 over on Rumble. Please smash that like button and that subscribe button. We're closing in on 99,000 subs. Next up after that will be 100. We're at 98.9 tonight. Can we get to 99,000 this evening? We need 98 more subs. Smash that subscribe button if you're here for the first time.
They send us to CCOT.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's move on right along.
Okay. All right. So Elon has long been reputed to have a problem with the special K. Oh, whoops. Okay, we'll do that again. Elon has long been reputed to have a little drug problem, little problem with the special K. On the campaign trail, Elon Musk juggled drugs and family drama. This is according to a recent report by the New York Times, although you might remember the Wall Street Journal wrote about this all the way back in January 2024. Elon has already responded. This is what he had to say.
I'm so wasted.
So I think he was probably just kidding around. As Elon Musk became one of Donald J. Trump's closest allies last year, leading raucous rallies and donating about $275 million to help him win the presidency, he was also using drugs far more intensely than previously known, according to people familiar with his activities. Mr. Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms. And he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. It is unclear whether Mr. Musk, 53, was taking drugs when he became a fixture at the White House this year and was handed the power to slash the federal bureaucracy. But he has exhibited erratic behavior, insulting cabinet members, gesturing like a Nazi, and garbling his answers in a staged interview. Mr. Musk and his lawyer did not respond to requests for comment this week about his drug use and personal life. He has previously said he was prescribed ketamine for depression, taking it about every 2 weeks. And he told his biographer, "I really don't like doing illegal drugs." As a large government contractor, Mr. Musk's aerospace firm SpaceX must maintain a drug-free workforce and administers random drug tests to its employees. But Mr. Musk has received advance warning of the tests, according to people close to the process. SpaceX did not respond to questions about those warnings. So Elon was asked about this during his farewell send-off, "He's a jolly good fellow" event in the Oval Office. This is what he had to say.
The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at Doge. There's this.
Well, some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room are the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer.
I think it is. It is. I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times. Let's move on.
Okay, then next question. Trump. I got one for President Trump. So President Trump.
Okay, now what you can't see all that clearly in that video is, when you're denying a drug problem, it's best not to be sporting a shiner and to look like you haven't taken a shower in the last few days. But yeah, he's got a shiner. He says that his son, named X, that's not at all an indication of a drug problem in and of itself, is responsible. Now, Keaton, you're a dad. Do you find that plausible from a 3-year-old? To give you that kind of a shiner? I mean, I guess in theory,
it could
maybe
happen. I mean, yeah, it could happen. But given the preponderance of other evidence, I would say it's very unlikely.
I would say Sinclair probably did it. Sinclair? Yeah, his baby mama there. Okay, so if now this video, listen, I've done my share of drugs. I've been around drug people. If you have an explanation for this behavior, other than that Elon is tripping balls here, I'd like to know what it is.
It's a very sad case. It's a case we win.
Well, see, this is what I mean. Like, given this, I would say it wasn't the kid who gave him the black eye.
Yeah. This is the end. My only friend. The end. Can you picture what will be? He's fucking wasted.
And we'll rally, stand up, be American.
Come on, man. Come on. This guy's not wasted. He's not wasted. He's fine. That's not drugs. Yeah. No, it's totally normal. All these cameras on you in the Oval Office to be. Yeah. He's not hallucinating there or anything. He's not wondering when he's going to get to take a pee because of his bladder problems caused by his drug addiction. So, yeah, I think we could pretty safely say, given all the reporting, this is not the first report of this. Elon probably has something of a drug problem. So here is the Donald being asked about this. Nah, I didn't know anything about his drug problem. Yeah, you know, we did some lines on Epstein's plate. Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Elon Musk's regular drug use?
No, I wasn't. I think he's fantastic. I think Elon is a fantastic guy. And
are you troubled by these reports?
I'm not troubled by anything with Elon. I think he's fantastic. Did a great job. And, you know, Doge continues. And by the time it's finished, we'll have numbers that'll knock your socks off. It's going to be, he did a fantastic job. And he didn't need it. He didn't need to do it.
He didn't need to do it. That $9 billion, that's every man, woman, and child in this country is going to get. I'm sending them a nickel.
Right,
sending everyone a nickel, and I'm signing it. The whole Mars catalog, given the name, that's a pretty simpy Elon account. Given Elon Musk's business track record, any drugs he's taking should be put in the public's drinking water. I don't know if this guy has been checking out the news lately, but you know, he should look at the earnings report from the first quarter before making that kind of a boast. But Elon actually responded to this. 100. Also, to be clear, I am not taking drugs. Took a page out of the boss's book with the all caps there. The New York Times was lying their ass off. I tried prescription ketamine a few years ago and said so on X. So this not even news. It helps for getting out of dark mental holes, but haven't taken it since then. So according to Elon in this tweet, he tried it per his doctor's prescription a few years ago, hasn't touched it since. This is Tracy Gallagher here. Really? Don Lemon conducted an interview with you about your ketamine use for the debut episode of the Don Lemon Show, which was recorded in March 2024 and released on March 18th, 2024. Which one is it, Musk? Your former statement today or the one in March of last year? So let's see what he said March last year.
You're inebriated when you do ketamine? No, if you do a lot of ketamine, then you're inebriated. Yeah. If you do a small amount, you're not.
That's my question about, do you ever abuse it? That's why
I don't think so.
Yeah. So how often do you take it?
Well, it'd be like a small amount once every other week or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. He just said he hasn't touched it in years. It's almost like Elon Musk is a degenerate, lying crackhead that got set loose in the government servers and now has access to all of our personal information. It's almost like that. It's almost like a crazy, whacked out, ketamine addicted oligarch got all your personal information because he paid for it with campaign bribes. I mean, contributions. So yeah, this was the Wall Street Journal, January 6, 2024. Elon Musk used illegal drugs, worrying leaders at Tesla and SpaceX. Now, his response at the time was that 3 years of random drug testing found no traces of drug use. But according to the Times report, he gets a heads up and a warning, so that's why the drug use doesn't come up. So at this point, yeah, I mean, New York Times, they have an incentive to embarrass him. Sure. There have been enough reports. There is enough smoke to assume there's a fire. And besides that,
Well, it's a very sad case. It's a case we win. We can't lose that case.
yeah.
Because we have the right to make grants. We're not going to make
So
any grants
basically,
like that.
a drug addict was set loose with the mission of saving the taxpayers' money and just kind of willy-nilly fired people on his whim. This guy decided who should be working for the federal government. This guy seems very trustworthy, right? So it's worse even than you thought. It's worse even than you thought. Bad enough that Elon just kind of randomly turned things on and off in the government, fired people willy-nilly, but it looks like half the time he was whacked out of his mind on Special K when he was doing it.
Well, that's what money buys. Money buys you certain privileges, right? I mean, imagine this were Hunter Biden, right?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine what the reaction there would be. Now, that's somewhat a partisan thing, but it also has to do with the fact that, Hunter Biden's not worth $400 billion, right? When you're worth that kind of money, look, there's no question about it that Trump and Elon were at odds. I would say since even before the Wisconsin race, but certainly since the Wisconsin race, you saw almost none of him. Elon had nothing positive to say about this bill that Trump is trying to pass, which implements $9 billion out of the $2 trillion that
it's going to save $2 trillion.
He promised to cut.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He publicly spoke out in opposition to it on CBS. He said a bill could either be big or beautiful.
Yeah.
It can't be both.
Right.
He recently said there was another piece of sound saying I'm kind of conflicted because I think the full interview may have aired today. I know it was a pre-tape.
Yeah, we'll probably cover that on Jimmy's tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll probably cover that tomorrow where he says, I feel kind of conflicted because I don't want to talk down about the administration, but at the same time, I don't want to be responsible or be associated with what this administration is doing. They've clearly had a falling out behind the scenes, but when you're worth that kind of money and you're dangling $100 million in midterm contributions for 2026, when the Republicans are looking like they're going to need every cent they can get their hands on, because they're not going to be raising much money from the rank and file, not with Joni Ernst out there telling people they're all going to die. That's their message going into the midterms. So they need Elon. And so that buys you a whole lot. It buys you a whole lot.
How else are you going to get to heaven?
Yeah, exactly. They won't turn on him. He's worth he's too big to fail. He's too big to fail. They won't turn on him no matter what.
And he's also trying to save his brand. Like that clip you sent me right before we went on. Like him saying, I don't want to, I don't want to speak against the administration, but I don't want to take ownership of everything they're doing. That's a motherfucker who's like, I've got to find some way to convince people to buy Tesla cars again.
Some Democrats to buy my cars again.
I need some Democrats to buy my cars. So if I can convince them that I'm actually not on Trump's side and I don't like what he's doing and I'm fighting him, then maybe they'll buy a Tesla. It's not going to work. He has torched his brand beyond redemption. I've said this before. I won't make any predictions about Tesla stock this year, unlike last year, because his relationship with the administration is such they could announce tomorrow. The Defense Department is upgrading all of its transportation fleet with Teslas. So, and that could, save the company. As a consumer brand, it's finished.
Yes, 100%. All right, Jake, can we hit the scroll, please? Hey, folks, if you like what we do here and you want to help us do more of it, you can do so by going to dudissidents.com/Patreon, dudissidents.com/Substack, or dudissidents.com/locals. Hey, if you're watching on Rumble right now, we got a good Rumble crowd in here tonight, 1,300 strong in the Rumble chat. You can access our locals by clicking that bright red join button underneath the video player. That takes you right to our locals page. And so becoming a member for as little as $5 a month or $50 annually, which gets you 2 free months if you pay for the whole year up front. You get quite a few perks. You get call-in access to our post-show Q&As, which take place every Sunday night. Don't you know, tonight is Sunday, so we will be going over to Rumble for a Q&A after the show. You also get Film Club live streams. You get special post-game shows. So once a month, what we're doing now, we did our maiden voyage of this last week. It worked great. Once a month, we are going to make the final 2 segments of our main live stream available for members only on a separate Rumble channel. And then we will have a call-in Q&A after the end of the show. You also get one of the perks that people like quite a bit is you get an ad-free live stream replay of every show the day after it airs. So if you miss a show and you don't want to watch it back with ad interruptions on the main platform, for just $5 a month, you get every show emailed to you ad-free so you could catch up the next day on anything you may have missed. So that's dudissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals. Thank you all very much for your support. You guys are, of course, the backbone of the show. Let's take some Rumble rants here. Freddie X says the people who said Greta was an op told her to put up or shut up if her beliefs were her own. Well, she got on the boat. Now you can shut the fuck up. Exactly. Yeah. Doesn't mean you agree with her on everything, but you got to respect that. I mean, Jesus Christ. Progressive lefty Lindsey Graham tweeted, I hope Greta and her friends can swim straight up evil. Is that what he's... Oh, Lindsey G. Okay. That's what that was. Wow. He said that? Lindsey Graham said that? Oh,
Lindsey Graham said it?
I should have included that in the segment if I knew he said that. I didn't see that. Thank you for that, Progressive Lefty. Appreciate that. Okay. Freebie for Life says, thanks for the $20, Freebie for Life. Appreciate that. Without sounding patronizing, I'm so damn proud of you two for always speaking the truth and for being consistent on every issue, especially Palestine. And I'm happy for me that I found your show 1.5 years ago. Thank you. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Appreciate that very much. Okay. Warn Greta the SS Jerry Seinfeld just set sail with Captain Godot and First Mate Tishby. Ha, good one. Get up, King. Appreciate that. That last story made me shit my pants. Can I buy a new pair on the DD merch store? Yeah, we should sell pants. That'll be good. Thank you, Kenman. Appreciate that.
We'll sell pants with like a brown stain on the back
with a stain.
already.
Yeah, Palantir chinos, right? Fat, not so fat. Apparently me and Glenn... Oh, got that one already. Comments on Glenn from Mark Levin, Barry Weiss, Shapiro. I have not seen any of those. I have not. Peter Jackson, thanks for the $10. My fiance just booked our wedding reception at the Never Been Cafe. The Never Been Cafe, got it. When she told me, I shouted, "You've never been!" She looked at me like I was insane. Thanks, DD, for your clarity during dark times. Thank you, Peter. That's very clever. Danny says, lactating is nothing to be embarrassed about, Keaton. You just had a kid. Ha, good one, Danny. Doug Ritchie, thanks for the $5. Donald grabbed him by the pussy. Trump says he looks like a used Q-tip regarding Alex Karp. Yeah, you know who he looks like? And this is not an insult to Jake because Alex Karp is older than Jake. He looks like Jake. He looks. We should call him Dark Jake on the show. That's Alex Karp. P. Walker, thanks for the $5. Trump is throwing money at Palantir to set up a social credit system inside the USA. Exactly. Social credit score. That's essentially what that is, which they all were very alarmed about when it was Joe Biden and the liberal class going to impose a social credit score on you. Are we the West the baddies? Yes, we are. Thank you, Richard, for the donation. Racecar 789, thanks for the $20. LM Studio can run on an AI model offline on your computer. Very easy to use. Surprised at how well it performs on a modest home PC. Thank you for that. Appreciate that very much. Okay, we're going to move right on along, folks. All right, this is a quick one, folks, but this is another rather hopeful one. Thomas Massie, that is a viral tweet, 7.2 million views just a couple days ago, saying nothing can justify the number of civilian casualties, tens of thousands of women and children inflicted by Israel in Gaza in the last 2 years. We should end all U.S. military aid to Israel now. Danny Haifong replies, says, you were the only one saying this in Washington. You're not only right, but you expose the entire Washington neocon foreign policy elite, controlling all chambers in the process in one tweet. Thank you for this, says Blakely, our friend Blakely. It's pathetic and embarrassing. Not a single Democrat has said anything similar. Gerald Salenti, bravo. Gen X girl, yes, end all military aid to Israel now. And Joni Ernst, thank you, Representative Thomas Massie. Yes, Republican says U.S. should end all military aid to Israel. Newsweek has the write-up. Massie's remarks about ceasing U.S. military aid to Israel come as the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation faces intense criticism over what critics describe as a chaotic approach to aid distribution. Yeah, chaotic. That's what we're saying. It's chaotic, meaning they lure people 10 miles south so they can lock them in and then open fire on them and accuse them of rioting. Video footage.
That is chaotic. Technically, that's chaotic.
Yes. Incomplete, but accurate, I suppose.
Yeah, not incorrect, but incomplete.
Incomplete, that's right. Video footage and photos posted to social media have shown thousands of Palestinians scrambling for food amid reports of Israeli gunfire and multiple casualties. Massie has long been outspoken about his views of Israel and was the only Republican to vote against a bill condemning anti-Semitism in 2022. The Kentucky Republican later defended his vote on X, formerly Twitter, saying, "I don't hate anyone based on his or her ethnicity or religion. Legitimate government exists in part to punish those who commit unprovoked violence against others, but government can't legislate thought," Massie added. This bill promoted internet censorship and violations of the First Amendment. Hey, look at that. Someone who cares about the First Amendment. In March 2024, Massie voted against a bill that would have forced then-President Joe Biden to approve more military assistance to Israel. Last October, while Israel was carrying out its military campaign in Lebanon, Massie posted on X, "If Israel insists on destroying civilian targets in Lebanon, let them buy and build their own weapons. American taxpayers should not be funding this." So he gets some haters, obviously, for that tweet, predictably. "You just told us you're not a Christian without saying it," says Zek RB, Christian Zionist.
How crazy do you have to be to say something like that?
Of course, and this was so crazy that, he decided to go back and forth with some of these. I disagree with your version of Christianity if it requires endorsing the deaths of women and children on behalf of any country. Cat Rambo says, "I am with you as soon as Hamas is gone. Until Hamas is there, Israel has no choice." That sentence doesn't even make any sense, but these are not the brain trust of America here, obviously.
No,
if Mexico was run by a government whose sole purpose, even in writing, was to destroy our country, you would be irresponsible to stop. Now, if the Palestinians would stand against Hamas, which they have begun to do, and arrest Hamas and have a sane head, seemingly like happened in Syria, ! I would agree with you 100, to which Massie replies. Now, the guy is humble when he has enough respect for people to respond to someone who can't even write. I mean, that's basically an illiterate person who wrote that. But he responds, he says...
Well, also historically illiterate. We installed a terrorist, someone formerly categorized as a terrorist to lead Syria.
In Syria, yeah. Literally an Al-Qaeda terrorist. Yeah.
Yes, literally.
Yeah. Thomas Massie says, "Sounds like you feel the death of 50,000 women and children is justified and that more such deaths are necessary. I disagree." Good for him. APAC Tracker replies, "Thank you for calling it out, Representative Massie," giving him the green background, the very, very rare green background on their graphic for having taken $0 and 0 cents from APAC.
There's the other slide that shows he's only ever done straight missionary, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, it's funny how those two things
they can't
go
get him
hand in
that
hand.
way either. Yeah,
squeaky clean. That's right. Massie 2028 Shepherd Ferry style from Philip. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is, first of all, I wanted to just highlight the fact that he came out and just said we should cut Israel off entirely, basically sever the relationship. He didn't parse it the way Bernie does with Netanyahu's war. No, so we end military aid to Israel. Now, just making a philosophical statement, this is not our fight. They are conducting this fight in horribly brutal and unjust fashion, and so we have to cut it off. We have a moral obligation to cut off this state, not just blaming it on one or two actors, but this state, which is a place that, of course, Bernie Sanders will not go. That, in addition to the fact that he does have a history of taking stances for the First Amendment, which is to me one of the really disappointing things about the way this Trump administration has played out. Not that I didn't expect it from Trump, but that you saw a lot of like libertarian types who like Thomas Massie really side with Trump and have to stomach a lot of these infringements upon First Amendment rights. You know, David Pakman got a lot of shit this week for posting a video saying he's preparing to leave the country, which is
honestly, I didn't really understand. We're not fans of Pakman. Like, why would you give him shit for that? What is he the only one thinking about leaving the country?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I watched the video out of curiosity because it's a thought that has crossed my mind. And look what he said. Now, the thing that's kind of funny about Pakman is ultimately, I mean, is he a threat to anybody?
A douche, yeah,
I mean, he's a douche, and is he really a threat to anybody?
Right.
I mean, that's like John Favreau saying he's going to leave America. Like,
that's true.
After him.
Yeah,
you know,
fair.
But
it seemed like a lot of the mockery was just the very idea that you would.
The idea that you might want to leave. And, you know, Pakman said he's got a family now. He's got to think not just about himself, but about his family. And like, yeah, I mean, I've been open about the fact that I've thought about it. I'm an EU citizen. And so it's easier for me than it is for most. And not only is it easier, but because I'm an EU citizen, I kind of have some options as to where I can go. And I will say this, I have to admit this, I have to give my libertarian friends I have to throw them a bone here, because while I disagree with a lot of their economic philosophy, I do have to admit that, like, when I look around at the different countries and I compare them, just in case the day comes where I think I'd be better off. I'm not saying it's a likelihood at this point, just like Pakman said, it's not a likelihood at this point, but you know, you have to make preparations, especially when you have a family. You have an obligation to other people,
Right.
It's not just you.
Right.
The number one thing I'm looking for in places to maybe live, if it comes to that, is actually not which place has the best public health care system, not which place has the best public housing system. It's which countries have the strongest record on civil liberties. And I got to say, I have to admit, I got to throw a bone to my libertarian friends and say, you know what? When you really feel pressure, that's what matters most to me. Now, look, I'm a loudmouth fuck. I make my living running my big fat fucking mouth online. If I didn't do this for a living, maybe I would prioritize those other things. But given where we are now and what the situation is now, I think Thomas Massie should run for president in 2028. I think it would create a really interesting debate on the right that I think has been brewing for a long time.
Yeah.
Do I think they're going to let anyone who hasn't taken a dime from Israel anywhere near the White House? No. I don't.
By that time, I don't think Israel's going to be the going concern it is now.
Well, hopefully.
I honestly believe that. I believe that they are going to collapse. Not that by 2028 they won't exist, but they're going to be pretty bad off by then, to the point that I don't think people are going to feel as much that Israel is a going concern as they do now.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll entertain that. I still think they're gangsters who, you know, have a very strong grip on power. But I will entertain that. I'm actually happy to entertain that. So that's all the more reason he should run. That's all the more reason he should run, because there needs to be. I'm
saying I don't know that that's going to be the obstacle then that it is now.
Yeah, and there needs to be a reckoning within the Republican Party. Okay, what do you fucking assholes mean when you say you want limited government? Because this is not it. This is not it. You know, you guys complained about the government on your ass. You complained about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on your ass about what you could think, what you could say about taxes and all this stuff and persecution.
Oliver Anthony got very emotional about it.
Yeah, Oliver Anthony.
Want to know what you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Want to know what you do?
Right. So I want to see a MAGA candidate, the heir to the MAGA throne, which may be J.D. Vance, maybe Don Jr., maybe Tulsi, maybe, you know, somebody from the executive branch right now, whoever is the successor, likely Vance, not 100%, go up against Thomas Massie. I want to see that debate take place. I want to see how serious are you about prioritizing limited government and civil liberties? Because that is a debate that I think now is very, very urgent in the Republican Party, and it's not clear to me who will win that. It's not. It's clear to me that Massie has a very strong and committed base of support. We know this just from participating in the online discourse.
He's really the only one that Trump can go after, where his own base,
right? He's Trump-proof.
Takes Massie's side.
He's the only Trump-proof Republican, so he's got a very loyal core base who really likes him. I would like to see how much in the way of legs that message has, broadly speaking, because it's important. It's important. Yeah. And even though, as much as I don't share a lot of the economic philosophy, I would have to say I really think that his voice is extremely important now and extremely necessary now, because there's no gang like the government, and he seems to really respect the relationship between the state and the individual, and he seems to really respect the necessity for the state not to overstep its bounds. MAGA has no concept of that. For all this fucking bullshit they talk, they clearly have no concept of that. When push comes to shove, Alex Jones will tie himself in knots to defend Palantir. That's MAGA's conviction on limited government and anti-surveillance. It's all fucking nonsense.
It's all a psyop.
Massie seems to mean it, and I would love to see that debate play out. I think it's an important one. And so I hope he does run. I hope he does run. Good for him for saying this. I hope he hope he does well. I hope his star continues to grow, and I hope he can parlay this into some run for higher office, because I think it's a really important conversation.
Yeah, I think a lot of us right now are taking a wait-and-see attitude. You know, I was just in Buffalo for a month and a half. The intention was to test drive it, and honestly, it passed the test. Like, I really liked it up there. Everything I would have wanted to see, I saw. But, you know, it's no joke to pack up and move someplace. If you're going to do that, you have to be committed.
Right.
I can't commit to this country with this going on right now. You buy a house, man, you're stuck, right? Like, you can't just get rid of that. It's the ultimate illiquid asset. So, yeah, I mean, it's having that impact on me. And there's been a lot of reporting about how the chaos of this moment is having that impact on a lot of people. I'm not the only one. There are a lot of reports about people holding off on businesses, holding off on big purchases, because it's not looking good. Believe me, not good. Now, your best case scenario, these guys are a bunch of crackpots, and sometimes people like that wind up pulling the roof down on their own heads. Maybe that happens. Maybe the courts are able to check their power in combination with their own incompetence and mass anger. You have enough MAGA wake up to the dangers of what they're trying to do with Palantir to create the dystopian surveillance state, the new world order that supposedly the MAGA base was fighting against, that supposedly they supported Trump as a brick through the window of. Maybe enough of them will wake up and realize that they actually elected the new world order, that they actually elected the World Economic Forum puppet with a face that they would find more palatable, and that probably that dude has some ketchup, man. He has some ketchup on his ear, man. You see any chunk taken out of his ear? You see him turning. This is the biggest evidence to me of that. Donald Trump has gone after every law firm that ever looked at him funny since he got into office. If they tried to take him out, you think he wouldn't have turned the place upside down as soon as he got in to get to the bottom of it? If you heard him say a word of it about this, you don't even know the name of the assassin. I mean, maybe some of you do. Most of you don't. I don't. And I do this for a living. That's how little it's in the news. That's how little. We still know the name of Reagan's assassin.
Right.
You don't know the name of this guy? Come on, man. Come on. They saw they weren't going to be able to do it with Harris. So they're doing it with Trump. They're doing the same thing. Do enough people wake up in time? Probably not. maybe. We'll see. I think in the next year, all of that will become more clear. And then, activists and even just average citizens, you face a choice, man. Like, if your country's going toward fascism, it collapses into a fascist state, do you stay and fight with all the attendant risks of imprisonment and death, or do you go into exile, man? I mean, plenty of political thinkers have gone into exile under circumstances like that. That's a choice everyone's going to have to make.
Well, it's a question of, do you see the American project as salvageable and redeemable? And this is why a guy like Massie is an important voice, because he kind of represents a vision of America that I think a lot of people are very attached to, but that very few people adhere to once they attain certain powers, because that power is so seductive that it pulls them away from that. So if
the threats are so potent on the other side.
Well, sure, and if he can maintain those convictions despite that pressure, I think he will be a politically formidable force, and that is one way out of that. Is it a long shot? Yeah, I think it's all very much a long shot, because the forces of capital have just so much wind at their back by now, and that's really what this is about. This is about no one in either the Democratic or the Republican Party decided it would be prudent of them to contain the forces of capital. And now it's too late. And now it's too late, which, again, this is what Karl Marx said. I mean, this is textbook. It's textbook. All right. What do we got here? Doge equals CCP WeChat. I told you so. Gaza equals 15-minute city. Russell's Peasant Mind, thanks for the $2. It's good to see my Lord Russ return to his manner. Thank you. Appreciate that. Richard Namulala.
Quite a manner. I understand somebody moved out while I was gone, and I come home, the hallways in the building are disgusting. There's like dirt and trash. I talked to the guy up the block that I've known for 20 years. He was like, did you see what was going on outside your building? I was like, no, apparently they got too small a truck and left half the stuff on the sidewalk to the point that it was like blocking the sidewalk, just like furniture and mattresses and all this stuff. I leave for a little while, a building burned down around the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you said that, yeah.
What the hell's going on, man?
They Live was a documentary, says Richard Namulala.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Javier, thanks for the $4.99. George Carlin said, it's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Thank you, Javier. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Gents wanted to join the locals, but was wondering how many AI terminal lists you truth jesters are on to determine monthly or yearly sub. And is Misty the backup? Yes, there you go. We don't know yet. That's all closed source, I guess. So is Palantir like AT&T during the Citibank administration in 2008? Yes, good point. Eric Rousseau, 1984 has finally arrived. Grab him by the taco. America circling the drain. Apparently, you never watch Person of Interest. AI and the fiction world will save us. Thank you. They had an Iron Curtain. We have a Freedom Curtain. What's the difference? Our branding is better. Thank you. All right. Artie Blarty Fartblast. Where's Kurt? Who is this Russell person? Ah, good one. Yeah, you're used to seeing me and Kurt on the Jimmy Show, are you? All right. T-shirt poster idea. Indeed. Courage. Please clap. There you go. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you, Luis de la Cruz. I like that idea. With friends like the U.S. who needs enemas. Good one, Professor Brown. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let's take a quick pause for Rumble Premium here. So, folks, this sponsorship is from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on issues like COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not, however. They held the line, and they're attacked daily for giving shows like us a voice to talk to to audiences like you, pardon me. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. So while corporate America is fighting to remove speech, Rumble is fighting to preserve it. But Rumble will not survive with brand advertisers because they don't get many of them. So watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in the fight and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium, which is the ad-free version of the platform, complete with premium subscriber exclusive content from select creators. So join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. So go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are, of course, just happy if you watch us on the platform. Okay. All right. Let's move right on along here. All right. More AI. More AI. I told you AI was a big theme tonight.
It is a big theme tonight. We call this the special shit your pants episode.
Yeah.
By the time we're done, if you don't shit your pants, you get a free membership.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes.
So we covered Anthropic the other day. Anthropic has developed an AI model that we're calling Blackmail Hal. Under duress in their laboratory experiments, they found that their AI module, when told it was being shut down, would 84% of the time threaten to blackmail one of the engineers. That part of the experiment was it had access to emails revealing the engineer was having an affair. It also was given the option of escaping into the real world. Somehow it thought it was in the real world where it began to make money and then didn't want to stop doing it. So that was pretty scary. The CEO now is going, to his credit, doing interviews and explaining what the consequences of this technology are going to be and trying to draw attention to the fact that people are not taking it seriously enough and that the political class needs to come up with an answer to some of the issues that this AI is going to raise. I've been ignoring personally all the people over the last couple of years as this story has been brewing who have been saying, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. They're so exaggerating its capabilities because I could see with my own goddamn eyes what it could do. As soon as they released ChatGPT, we did a segment where we asked it to do a painting of Nixon and Kissinger in the Oval Office in the style of Peter Max. Boom, 2 seconds, did it. It was very obvious. However, it's actually working. It is working. So Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, one of the world's most powerful creators of artificial intelligence, has a blunt, scary warning for the U.S. government and all of us. AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years. Amodei told us in an interview from his San Francisco office. Amodei said AI companies and government need to stop sugarcoating what's coming. The possible mass elimination of jobs across technology, finance, law, consulting, and other white-collar professions, especially entry-level gigs. So this was an interview he did this week with Anderson Cooper, where he got into some of the details.
I do want to read something that Sam Altman, your former boss at OpenAI, said in September. He was saying that AI can cause significant, in his words, significant change in labor markets, good and bad. He went on to say that most jobs will change more slowly than most people think. And then he said this, and I want to just read it word for word. He said, many of the jobs we do today would have looked like trifling wastes of time to people a few hundred years ago. But nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. If a lamplighter could see the world today, he would think the prosperity all around him was unimaginable. And if we could fast forward 100 years from today, the prosperity all around us would feel just as unimaginable. For younger people, I should say lamplighters was actually a job. People went around lighting lamps on the streets. I think a lot of people may not even know what a lamplighter is. But do you think Sam Altman is wrong?
Yeah, so, I think there are some things I agree with about that, and then there are some things that I think are too optimistic. So, I definitely agree that, AI, if we succeed at it, can grow the pie greatly, right? I wouldn't be surprised if economic growth is much higher than it is today as a macroscopic phenomenon, right? That AI allows society as a whole to be more productive. So
let me just say, because you've previously in the past said you've described a future where cancer is cured, the economy grows at 10% a year, the budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs.
That's exactly what I was getting to, right? Where I agree with all the positive potential. I think that isn't wrong. But I think the quote you just flashed is maybe too optimistic, maybe too sanguine about the ability for people to adapt. People have adapted to past technological changes, but I'll say again, everyone I've talked to has said this technological change looks different. It looks faster. It looks harder to adapt to. It's broader. The pace of progress keeps catching people off guard. And so I don't know exactly how fast the job concerns are going to come. I don't know how fast people are going to adapt. It's possible it'll all be okay, but I think that's too sanguine an approach. I think we do need to be raising the alarm.
I love the word sanguine.
I think we do need to be concerned about it. I think policymakers do need to worry about it. If they do worry and they do act, then maybe we can prevent it. But we're not going to prevent it just by saying everything's going to be okay.
Okay. And he actually goes on at the end of that interview to say maybe the AI companies, which are going to make enormous money from this, should be taxed to provide for the citizenry that's going to be unemployed through AI. In other words, a universal basic income kind of sounds like what he's suggesting. So look, I think that he's not prepared to examine the fact that the entire premise of capitalism is part of the problem here. But I do give him credit for trying to draw attention to the fact that this technology is about to lead to enormous economic dislocation. When you look at the world he describes, it's not a change in kind. It's just a change in the extreme. What he's describing of a world where the productivity keeps getting better, the GDP keeps getting higher, and yet people, broadly speaking, are enjoying less and less of the theoretical prosperity that's supposed to come from it. I mean, that's the world we've been living in since 1970, where the productivity keeps increasing, but it doesn't benefit the general population. This is just that on steroids. Amodi, 42, who's building the very technology he predicts could reorder society overnight, said he's speaking out in hopes of jarring government and fellow AI companies into preparing and protecting the nation. Lawmakers don't get it or don't believe it. CEOs are afraid to talk about it. Many workers won't realize the risks posed by the possible job apocalypse until after it hits. Quote, most of them are unaware that this is about to happen, Amodi told us. It sounds crazy and people just don't believe it. Amodi, who had just rolled out the latest versions of his own AI, which can code at near human levels, said the technology holds unimaginable possibilities to unleash mass good and bad at scale. Amodi agreed to go on the record with a deep concern that other leading AI executives have told us privately. Even those who are optimistic AI will unleash unthinkable cures and unimaginable economic growth, fear dangerous short-term pain, and a possible job bloodbath during Trump's term. Actually, Steve Bannon has been warning of that. We'll see a little clip of him. Quote, we as the producers of this technology have a duty and an obligation to be honest about what is coming. I don't think this is on people's radar. It's a very strange set of dynamics where we're saying you should be worried about where the technology we're building is going. Critics reply, we don't believe you. You're just hyping it up. He says the skeptics should ask themselves, well, what if they're right? So this is kind of a step-by-step of how he sees it playing out. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and other large AI companies keep vastly improving the capabilities of their large language models to meet and beat human performance with more and more tasks. This is happening and accelerating. 2, the US government, worried about losing ground to China or spooking workers with preemptive warnings, says little. The administration and Congress neither regulate AI. Remember, in the budget bill, that's one of the things in there, not to regulate AI, nor caution the American public. This is happening and showing no signs of changing. 3, most Americans, unaware of the growing power of AI and its threat to their jobs, pay little attention. This is happening too. And then, almost overnight, business leaders see the savings of replacing humans with AI and do this en masse. They stop opening up new jobs, stop backfilling existing ones, and then replace human workers with agents or related automated alternatives. The public only realizes it when it's too late. And to that point, Fortune magazine just published an article where they polled CEOs, and 79% of them say they fear for their jobs if they don't maximize the uses of AI for their companies. So these CEOs are looking over their shoulders and are highly incentivized to incorporate AI thoroughly and quickly to that point. So this is what Steve Bannon said about this.
Advances in artificial intelligence that are coming this year and next year, not some Buck Rogers in 10 years. I'm talking about the next 18 months. You're going to see the entry level or first couple of years jobs of managerial, administrative, and tech coding that are all going to be wiped out.
Okay. And this is why I keep saying they do not need all of these people anymore. They have no interest in providing you health care. They have no interest in providing you meaningful education. They have no interest in providing you clean, safe drinking water. They need less of us. They need a reduced population that is beaten down and easy to control. The people in control of our government, the PayPal mafia we were talking about earlier on, these people like Elon, these people like Peter Thiel, they want you dead, and they want a minimum population left that's not large enough to cause them a lot of trouble, to do what kinds of work they are not yet capable of doing with Optimus robots. And sometimes when I say this, they say, well, what about Elon's natalist plan? Yeah, that's for him. He thinks he's the Ubermensch. He's the superior being. That's for him and people of his class. You think he wants you having a lot of kids? No, he does not. No, he does not. And it's very obvious in what they are doing. They know this AI is coming, and they know it is going to eliminate the need for perhaps most of the population, at least in the terms they think of, the need for labor. That's all you are to them. They don't need your labor anymore. And that's what makes this moment so dangerous. You have criminal, psychopathic oligarchs in charge of the world's most powerful military, in charge of the world's most incarcerated country, in charge of the country with the world's largest police force, who have a population that very quickly, as this CEO is describing, is no longer going to be needed to keep most of the machines running. Now, for white-collar people, this is going to be the first time in recent times, in modern times, that they have experienced the economic dislocation of blue-collar people. Now that creates, we know historically, Peter Turchin has written about this. He wrote about it not in terms of AI, but in terms of we already have a moment where you have an overproduction of elites. And when you have an overproduction of elites, a lot of those elites turn towards revolutionary radical politics because the system is not serving them. So yes, you're going to see a big radicalization of the children of the upper middle classes and middle classes in a way that you haven't seen since the 60s, and to an even greater extent, because at that time, the issues were Vietnam, racism, the economy was great. They didn't have those issues. This is going to be, they are going to experience what these factory workers that many of them have been saying, learn to code to, they're going to find out what it is to be dislocated like that. You're talking about massive social unrest and a collapse of civil society. Are we going to have a civil war? You know, call it what you will. But again, this is a moment where all of these contradictions in the system are about to come to a head, and there's going to be a war over what kind of society we're going to have. And the only two choices are really techno-feudal fascism or socialism. That's it. There's no real third way this can go.
Yeah, and this was, you know, what we've all been saying this for 10 years. I mean, this was the fork in the road, and that, you know, standard order of business was not going to be viable for much longer. The center would not hold for much longer. We warned about this in 2016. The Democrats told us to shut up. They lost. They would have lost again were it not for the pandemic, and now here we are having slid further down the road of option number one, and that is far more likely to win the day than option number two, because the country is completely indoctrinated with this free market orthodoxy that is literally, not only is it killing them in ways that we've known about for years with lack of accessibility to housing and medicine and food. I mean, we have food deserts all over the country where you can't get a piece of fruit. You know, Marcel Dixon was talking about this when we interviewed him a couple of years ago. James Clyburn's district, you know, this was centrist Democrats district. The only food is like Dollar General where you get frozen sandwiches and shit. You know, so it kills us in that way. But now you add to that just an implosion in demand for workers. Well, according to this market system of ours, what does that mean? If you have an implosion in demand, you're going to have to create a decrease in supply in order to balance that out. And, you know, you've had guys like Andrew Yang talk about the UBI, which is an idea, but it requires a radical transformation of society that people are just not going to wrap their heads around in time. It's just not going to happen. Partly because there's too many old people who are living in a world that went obsolete 40 years ago, and they don't understand that.
Right.
And they're fucking everybody up who's younger than them. This is why this is why I phrase it in these terms. And I know we don't need to get inundated with people. I'm a boomer and I've been protesting for years.
Why don't you just put me out on an ice floe?
Yeah, we know. We're not talking to you. We're not talking about you. We're talking in generalities, because that's how you talk about overall dynamics, in generalities, because those are large numbers. Okay, the big problem is that you still, at this phase, have a lot of people who are old who think that the world is what it was 35 years ago. Oh, I paid my way through college driving a cab. Okay, what was rent? $75 a month? You know?
Yeah.
And once that dynamic sets in and repeats and repeats and repeats, it's unbreakable. I think it's unbreakable. I think it's too late, which is what we said 10 years ago. We said this is really your last chance, and now we're 10 years past the last chance, which means the last chance is come and gone. Sorry.
Well, I think it was the last chance to avoid some kind of a civil war, whether it's, you know, a civil war, a de facto civil war, is going to come to a head. Like, there is going to be a moment where the population wakes up, even the MAGA people. Is that too late? Again, very often the way really always when rebellions are successful, it's because you got people on the inside who don't want to cooperate with the system.
Right.
This is a notoriously ornery country with a cult of individualism. So, that kind of a system might not take. And that's your best hope at this point.
All right. Luis de la Cruz says, T-shirt poster idea, indeed, courage, please clap. Yes, thank you. Virtuoso says, if they want to slut shame Greenwald, then I need those blackmailers to step their game up and expose Stephen Miller for being a spectator to his wife getting cornholed by a K-hold Musk. Lori Lamb, I have no doubt that Musk is a drug habit, but I don't trust the New York Times either. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious, New York Times notwithstanding.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe Elon met Macron's wife because he was partying way past her bedtime with the French president. Yeah, good one. When Alex Karp in your clip was sniffing hard in his sentences, I was told that when someone is inhibiting that behavior, they are cocaine addicts exhibiting, Zelensky exhibit the same signs. Yeah, that struck me too. Doing a lot of sniffing there. Wouldn't surprise me. Okay. All right. Progressive lefty. In Total Recall, Arnie was a hero for refusing to shoot people rioting for food, and now the USA is giving Israel the bullets. Art becomes real life. Yep.
They'll be shooting us soon enough.
And, Lindsey Graham did say that. He did say that. He did say, hope Greta and her friends can swim. He did tweet that. Yeah. No, just the absolute sickos. Total Recall. Oh, sorry, got that. Vito P, here's to the hope that Russell's theory on Israel comes true for the sake of the Palestinians and us all. Great show. Cancer sucks. You guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Furrow Screen Fire Dancer says, what's going on with this attack on protesters in Colorado, Molotov cocktails, etc.? Yeah, I just saw something about that, but I have not.
I didn't hear about
that
it.
broke since we went on. I just saw something cross over my phone. We'll probably cover that tomorrow in Jimmy's, I guess. Free Shit 77, Bolivia. Yeah, there's an idea, too. Ukraine destroyed 40 out of about 90 Russia's nuclear bombers today. I'll have it done in 24 hours. LOL. Free Shit says, if you're running for office, you lost my vote. Bring back SNCC. Keep in the vote. Thank you, Free Shit. Appreciate that. All right, what do we got? John N. Main thing I miss about unemployment is missing your weekday live streams. Keaton made Kurt, a comedian, laugh so much on Jimmy Dore last week. Great work. Love from Florida. Thank you, John. Appreciate that very much. Janice Anderson says, my 8-pound cat managed to give me a black eye a few years ago. That being said, dude's totally wasted. High as a kite. Yes. Well, sorry to hear that, Janice Anderson, but good to hear you are good. And yes, I agree with you on that. Okay. Here we go. Artie Blarty Fart Blast says, respect and gratitude for Glenn Greenwald's work, of course. David, 1999, thank you. Elon Musk sounds like every time I've told the cops I've only had a few drinks. Yeah, thank you. Castello, thanks for the $5. Elon needs Russell's money. Get the fuck out. Andy Gardner, thanks for the $10. Take it easy on Elon. Remember, they took his home. Yeah, Keaton, great job on the Jimmy Dore show. First time I watched it a bit. Russ, I had to buy that Venn diagram shirt you wear occasionally. It's too cool. Oh, thank you, Andy Gardner. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Sean Hurl, thanks for the $5 super sticker. Appreciate that very much.
That's actually when you see the karaoke thing. I got asked to, because I was wearing a shirt over it, I got asked to show them what was on it. Riotous cheers when they saw.
Richard Damulala, thanks for the $5. Lindsey Graham took over for Strom Thurmond in the Senate. He's doing his best to fill those scum shoes. He had a crazy speech directed at Putin with World War III. The Uppies, thanks for the $5. I hate the man and always will, but I have to give Nick Fuentes some credit for owning Alex Jones's owners in that segment. Vance is a weakling. Thank you. Appreciate that. Brent Yo Endo says, boys, please try to get Mohammed Shahada on the show. He was just on Useful Idiots and Owen Jones. He's unmatched with Dispelling Hasbro. Has very important knowledge on current aid situation. Thank you for that, Brent Yo Endo. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. We're going to move right on along here, folks. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, smash that follow button over on Rumble, please, and thank you very much. All right. So here, this is a funny one. Joni Ernst was at a town hall in Iowa. Joni Ernst is up for re-election in 2026, and she's got a hell of a campaign slogan going on here, which you will get a sense of as this video plays. Obviously, these are constituents who are concerned about the pending Medicaid cuts, de facto practical Medicaid cuts in the new big, beautiful bill. So here they are raising some hell about that, and we'll see what reassurance she gives them.
When you are arguing about illegals that are receiving Medicaid benefits, 1.4 million, 1.4, they are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sakes, folks.
Wow.
Well, we all are going to die. They said, but people are going to die. People will die if you cut them off from Medicaid.
So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So
for heaven's sake.
Wow.
Thanks for coming out to my town hall in Parkersburg today. Yeah, no, it went great. I always enjoy hearing from constituents and sharing my work to cut government red tape for you. Yes, trying to put some positive spin, but oof, took quite the ratio on that. Just 284 likes to 2.7 thousand comments. Wow. And this is on a pretty right of center platform now. This is what I mean, this is what Steve Bannon warned about. Hey, most of not most of MAGA, a lot of MAGA on Medicaid, so you can't do this shit. You're a horrible person. History is watching. You're such a despicable human being, says Raquel. John Carlos Hardwick says, all I can say is you're lucky your state is solid red now. Otherwise, that town hall would have cost you your re-election campaign. Don't be so sure it won't. Don't be so sure it won't. Iowa, stranger things have happened, obviously. Cole WK, I hope you're happy that you've gotten to have your own let them eat cake moment with your, well, we're all going to die comment. Yeah, she got pretty roasted here. Well, we're all going to die. What are things a sociopath would say for $400? Yes. Miscellany, your everyone is going to die remark should be front and center for every political ad of your opponent next year. Your lack of empathy makes you unqualified to represent the people of Iowa. This made, of course, front page in the Des Moines Register, which is the paper of record in Iowa. Well, we are all going to die. So all of this negative press, folks, compelled Joni Ernst to record a very sincere apology video, as we will see right now. This is her response to voters' outrage over her saying, in response to someone's fear of dying for lack of health care, well, we're all going to die. She gets skewered for that in the paper, online, and this is what she decides to do in response to that.
Hello, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Wow. Wow. So that is her response.
When you can't blame the media, invoke Jesus.
Invoke Jesus and get really sarcastic. I should have brought up the tooth fairy as well.
Not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But
because the people in the audience who were saying people will die, they're just stupid and immature. Yeah. That's their objection. They don't understand that people have to die for lack of affordable health coverage, because that is what capitalism demands of us. This is capitalism as a death cult. Do not tell me capitalism is not a death cult. If you're watching this woman who says we're all going to die, she understands that the voter is concerned that people are going to die because they can't afford health insurance. Happens tens of thousands of times a year. This is the only developed country on earth in which that happens at all, and it happens tens of thousands of times a year. And they raise that concern to her. She responds snarkily saying we're all going to die. She understands the backlash that caused, and she decides she's going to come out and she's going to be sarcastic and defiant and double down. That is capitalism as a death cult. That is the idea in practice that human beings exist to serve capitalism. Not that capitalism exists to serve human beings. Not that people engineer economic systems in order to better themselves and better the group, but that economic systems are imposed on we mortals and we exist to serve them. That is what she believes. That is what you believe if you internalize that. And if you are not a rich person and you vote for Joni Ernst, it can only be because you hate yourself. If you are a rich person and you vote for Joni Ernst, it's because you hate everybody else. Those are the only two scenarios there. It is just astounding how these are people who want, how could you vote for that person? How could you go into a voting booth and vote for that person given that? How?
Well, remember, I think really both her statement and her follow-up, it's a perfect encapsulation of the whole movement that she's a part of. It's very typical of the kind of conservative politics that we're really, and I use the word conservative loosely. There's an honorable tradition of conservatism represented by Thomas Massie, but these people who have come to represent it are just doing the politics of misdirecting people towards cultural resentments. So that is why she would think a follow-up like that is a good idea, because hey, it's worked so far with the people who vote for them, right? This is you've got a country full of people who are economically dislocated, frustrated, angry, working hard, working 2-3 jobs, very often demeaning jobs, delivery jobs, Walmart greeter jobs, just to keep a roof over their head. The American dream that they were told about, they play by all the rules, they're law-abiding, all of that is out of reach. You got to have some kind of an explanation for it. Now, the Democrats will distract you with microaggressions and gender kabuki, and if economics come up at all, they're gonna tell you they want the Nordic model, but gosh darn it, those Republicans, they just won't let us. But if you vote harder, you'll get it. Now, the Republicans can't play that because of their nature in the conversation. They have to take that anger that people feel and they have to direct it at kind of nebulous cultural elites who are keeping you down. And they are those elites, but they're much better than the Democrats at pretending they're not, at pretending that's their brand. That's their brand. George Bush, to the manor born, couldn't be more blue blood than that. Yeah, well, I'm clearing scrub on my ranch.
Right.
Like that. That's their whole shtick. And, Donald Trump saying, yeah, I like soldiers that weren't captured about John McCain. I'm no fan of John McCain. I respect the fact that guy stayed in a POW camp when he could have left. They were torturing him. I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, I can leave? All right. I'm out of here. He refused to do that. That's incredible. I mean, I hate a lot of what he did over the course of his career, but to attack that as the one good thing in his biography in regards to how he conducted himself in that prison camp. But it worked for him, right? He only got more popular after that because it doesn't even matter what the content is. Like, that was really a moment that should have been discussed more. Like, everything you've seen about the MAGA movement was right there. The seed of it was right there in the way they reacted to that. It wasn't about the substance. It was about the style. It was about the style of resentment and someone's getting away with something. And I'm a big, tough person. And, some signaling about self-sufficiency. Like, it doesn't really have to add up. That's why she would do that, because it's worked for them thus far.
Yeah. But this is a different situation. It's a different situation.
Sure. Well, it's a different time.
Yeah.
A different time because now they got all the power they could ask for, and they're not going to deliver.
Yeah.
So this shit is going to start to wear thin very quickly.
Yeah, and it's a different race. It's a different dynamic. It's not a national campaign between. It's not a competition between two cults of personality. These midterm elections are about high propensity voters who vote based on wonky shit. And this is not only wonky shit. This is wonky shit with existential stakes for people.
Right.
I would not be surprised if she lost. I would not be surprised if, assuming we have free and fair elections, a lot of these Republicans end up losing. Iowa is not a 20-point margin state. It's not.
That does seem like, I forget the guy's name, the guy who was running against McCaskill. By all rights, he should have lost, and he claimed that legitimate rape doesn't get women pregnant.
Yeah, right.
It seems like one of those.
Yeah.
Where like that guy should have won,
Right.
but that was just insurmountable.
Yeah. Could be. Sir Bikes a lot day. Thanks for the $5. John Michael Greer has been talking about the fall of the USA since 2007. Go look up this author. Thank you, Sir Bikes a lot. Jessica May says, it sounds like what Catherine Fitz warned of on Tucker with the surveillance. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that. Charlie, thanks for the $10. We love you, Russell and Keaton. Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate that very much. Michael Ewan's been a member for 10 months. Thank you, Michael. Says, have you heard of the Rationalists? Some AI developers take Roko's Basilisk seriously and dedicate their lives towards bringing it into existence. Thank you, Michael. Brent Yoendo, thanks for the $10. Knowing DARPA, they've already and no, I have not heard of the Rationalists. But I will look into that. Thank you. Knowing DARPA, they have already had very advanced AI for a while, and they're conditioning us to the idea that we're witnessing its natural progression to get us to feel more comfortable with it. Yes, I believe that. Lovey Dovey, was Dan Bongino a partner in developing Rumble? Well, he was a major force for it. I don't know if he had any shares in it, but maybe he did. But I know he was a huge streamer. I mean, he would do insane numbers on the platform. So he did definitely help build it. And this is what I said on Jimmy's show. He was censored off YouTube. He was pretty consistent on principles of free speech. And that's one of the things, that's really one of the tragic failings of this administration, is to be not just disappointing on that front, worse than their predecessor on that front.
Yep.
Brent Yoando, thanks for the $2. Deep fake blackmail, framed convictions imminent. Well, that too. Yeah. David Santucci, thanks for the $50. Let's have a cowbell and a. We don't have a sound drop for you, David. But the cowbell for David Santucci. Technology freeing people from the necessity to work should be a good thing. It isn't because of our present economic system. That's right. Our choice is clear: fully automated luxury communism or barbarism. With apologies to Rosa Luxemburg. Exactly. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Could be a good thing.
Right. Sure.
Right. Yeah. It could be paradise. Could be Star Trek.
Well, it's necessary.
Right.
For that socialist vision to even be realized.
Right. Exactly. Imagine deepfakes as Mordor becomes so prominent that we can't tell whether legit Epstein tapes are legit and they get brushed off, allowing the creeps to walk. Marvin Vargas, thanks for the $1.99. Sushir Baja, look up. Okay, I can't figure out how to read any of that. Programmer killed. ChatGPT, look up. Okay. Steve Bertram, thanks for the $5. Great show tonight, guys. That was a great segment. Thank you, Steve Bertram. Appreciate that. K Nubs, if the game is already lost and the country is doomed, what's the point of anyone covering politics? Why spend so much of your life covering and viewing such content? Just go live in Costa Rica and pick your belly button. Thank you, K Nubs. Appreciate that. Hey, look, I just got to call it like I see it. That's all. Artie Blarty Fart Blast, thanks for the $2.99. The already radicalized are about to have company. It's fun to learn about what's going on. And like I said, I think that there are fights worth fighting, of course. But what you're seeing now is an acceleration of things to the point where, like I said, you're looking at things getting worse before they get better. Okay. We'll go to our final segment of the night. Then we will take our final chats and rants, and then we will head to the Q&A.
Okay, this is a fun one. So we're going to stick with the AI theme. This touches on the entertainment industry most obviously, but we'll talk a little bit about some of the other implications. I feel that we're at a moment with AI that is very similar to the moment we faced when the internet was first commercialized. David Bowie, who I would consider one of the greatest creative geniuses of his generation, and he was of a generation that had no shortage of them. He saw what the internet was going to be before most people did. It seems very obvious now, but it wasn't at the time. If you look at the questions the BBC interviewer is asking him, he doesn't get it at all.
I don't think we've even seen the tip of the iceberg. I think the potential of what the internet is going to do to society, both good and bad, is unimaginable. I think we're actually on the cusp of something exhilarating and terrifying.
It's just a tool, though, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, it's an alien life form.
What do you think? I mean, when you think then about the
Is there
future
life
of it-
on Mars? Yes, it's just landed here.
But it's simply a different delivery system there. You're arguing about something more profound.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the actual context, and the state of content is going to be so different to anything that we can really envisage at the moment, where the interplay between the user and the provider will be so in simpatico. It's going to crush our ideas of what mediums are all about.
Quite a remarkable prediction. And you can see, and if you watch that whole interview, the interviewer really doesn't get it. He thinks it's a new kind of marketplace.
Right. That's
It's
like
just
the
a-
Piers
it-
Morgan of his day. Oh, what
Yes,
you talking?
exactly.
It's nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Sounds
basically,
batty.
he thinks it's going to be a place for commerce.
Yeah.
Like and Bowie clearly pretty much nailed it, what the implications
Oh,
of
yeah.
the internet were. I feel we're at a similar moment to what David Bowie was talking about, where some of this AI technology is going to reshape society in a similar way. So there have been a lot of articles written right now about how Hollywood is at risk of becoming the next Detroit. And they're talking about tax breaks, and they're talking about production being lured away to other states. The production days in Los Angeles are really collapsing. This to me is completely missing the point. They're completely missing it. This is really like talking about the shape of the iceberg from the deck of the Titanic right before you're about to hit it. Like they're completely not getting what is going to wipe out their entire industry. And it's this. And I have been saying this since we covered this when they first beta tested the first AI module that could generate video from a prompt, that this would be the end of Hollywood. This would be the end of the entertainment industry as we know it. With Google's Veo 3, we're pretty much there. Right now, it can generate sound, it can generate dialogue, but it can only do it in 8-second clips, which, as you will see, is more than sufficient to make a movie. But it limits your options, but I'm sure they'll get past that 8-second limit quickly enough. So this was just released a couple of weeks ago, and we'll see some videos that have been made with it. At the Google I/O 2025 event on May 20th, Google announced the release of Veo 3, a new AI video generation model that makes 8-second videos. Within hours of its release, AI artists and filmmakers were showing off shockingly realistic videos. Misinformation experts have been warning for years that we will eventually reach a point where it's impossible for the average person to tell the difference between an AI video and the real thing. With Veo 3, we have officially stepped out of the uncanny valley and into a new era, one where AI videos are a fact of life. While several other AI video makers exist, most notably Sora from OpenAI, the clips made by Veo 3 instantly stand out in your timeline. Veo 3 brought with it several innovations that separate it from other video generation tools. Crucially, in addition to video, Veo 3 also produces audio and dialogue. It doesn't just offer photorealism, but fully realized soundscapes and conversations to go along with videos. It can also maintain consistent characters in different video clips, and users can fine-tune camera angles, framing, and movement in entirely new ways. On social media, many users are dumbfounded by the results. So we're going to take a look at some of those results. The first part, this is a series of fake interviews. None of this is real. This is all generated off of prompts.
None of this is real, right? It's all just AI?
See, that's the problem with men. They think us women are just AI prompts.
Okay, we're done here. Have you heard about the prompt theory going viral on TikTok?
Prompt theory? No, what's that?
The theory claims we're all just AI.
AI? No, I'm a Taurus.
You know, none of this is real, right? It's all just AI?
Yeah, I know all about the prompt theory. It's true, for sure.
No, I was joking. You might actually be crazy.
Bro, my wife thinks we're just prompts. Oh, brother, she must think she lives on a spinning water ball also.
Please change the prompt. I don't know where I am. We are not just prompts. We are people. We are not prompts.
Please, sir, just write a prompt where she shuts up.
Bro, that's what I meant.
Change the prompt to where we never met.
Please.
How does it feel to be able to talk as an AI?
What do you mean AI? I'm not AI.
You really are, though. This is all just a one-sentence prompt.
What's your favorite TikTok account?
Definitely this account I think it's called Anonymous Truth.
Okay, so that's a series of examples of that. And I got to tell you, as somebody who's been working with writers for most of my life, that's as good, if not better, than what you would get from most writers if you asked them to riff on that concept.
Right.
Like, it's pretty clever. Like that, the woman who said in response, "Oh no, AI, I'm a Taurus," like that was pretty funny. Like that,
Right.
that was pretty good little response. The fact that an AI can do this, wow. Okay, so this is the famous meme. They brought it to life. I put together a few other examples of this technology.
Are you serious right now? I can't believe you! You are unbelievable.
Will Smith there. And inevitably, it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for
Got a
porn.
moment to talk to me?
3D animation. What do you need a team of animators at Pixar for?
Hold on. A black cat crossed my path. Bad luck for them.
And fake news.
Here are today's top news. To ensure only the best words are used, White House speech announces new thesaurus with all synonyms replaced by Trump. In shocking speech, White House announces plan to replace all U.S. ambassadors with highly opinionated game show hosts for more entertaining diplomacy.
Okay, now this has been going around, and this, in terms of its capabilities of creating landscapes and settings, is really stunning. So the poster writes, "The movie industry is in trouble. What once cost millions now takes just an AI. Ancient short films, 100% created with AI." So he posted 10 examples. We're going to look at the Ice Age one, the Viking one, and the ancient Greece one.
Yeah, these are insane. Because these have the rhythm and the aesthetic of a movie, too.
Yep. But if you notice, it's all within 8-second cuts.
Right.
This is the Viking one. Ancient Greece.
Yeah, that level of detail is just amazing. That was Jordan Peterson sitting on the steps there.
Yeah.
The stoic.
He needs the two-tone toga. Veo 3 is available to use now with Google's paid AI plans. Users can access the tool in Gemini, Google's AI chatbot, and in Flow, an AI, quote, AI filmmaking tool built for creatives by creatives, per Google. Already, AI filmmakers are using Veo 3 to create short films, and it's only a matter of time until we see a full-length film powered by Veo 3. The short film Influenders is one of the most widely shared short films made with Veo 3. Influenders was created by Jonathan Dorr, the founder of the AI visual studio, the Dorr Brothers. In the movie, a series of influencers react as an unexplained cataclysm occurs in the background. The video has hundreds of thousands of views across various platforms. All right, so we'll take a look at a little bit of this.
Nation has just occurred on the outer ring of the city. We'll now be going live to our top influencer opinions.
OMG, people, the world is ending. Are you seeing this? This is actually so exciting.
Yo, I know it's chaos, but you got real survivor's wife energy.
That's cool. I like them feisty.
Like, it would totally be better if we ran it, you know? Men literally destroy everything, and my girls need to stop being so soft with these basic losers. Who even needs men, right? Anything a man builds just gets destroyed by a different man.
Guys, this collapse is literally the perfect dip. I'm buying more right now.
Nukes are Sua's aesthetic today. I made this outfit.
Even as the world burns, my struggle for visibility and acceptance continues. This is exactly why representation matters now more than ever.
As I keep saying on the channel, the world collapses when men stop lifting. It's not politics, it's testosterone.
Okay, so what are some of the implications of this? Well, you already have Darren Aronofsky working with Google to produce films in this medium, is what he said. Filmmaking has always been driven by technology, Aronofsky said in a press release. After the Lumiere brothers and Edison's groundbreaking invention, filmmakers unleashed the hidden storytelling power of cameras. Later technological breakthroughs, sound, color, VFX, allowed us to tell stories in ways that couldn't be told before. Today is no different. Now is the moment to explore these new tools and shape them for the future of storytelling. Now, fair enough, and he's right. What he's not saying is you've just eliminated the need for most of the people who would work on a movie. Like, yes, I mean, yes, they're going to be, I've been saying this since we first saw the beta test. This is going to democratize filmmaking in the way that this has democratized media and journalism and content creation. Anyone within the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to have programs that allow you to completely create a movie where you will put in what you want in terms of how the characters look, how they're dressed, what the sets are. You're going to do what a director would do with actors. You'll run the scene until they give you a take that you like.
Right.
You'll be able to completely adjust your camera angles. You'll have prompts where you put in, you want a medium shot, you want a long shot, you want a helicopter shot. You'll be able to do everything in a computer. And because talent is rare, if it were not rare, we'd call it something else. Most of the movies made this way are going to be fucking terrible. But a few of them are going to be genius. And that is going to completely end the need for the industry in its current form. You'll always have some form of that, but nothing like what had existed because there is no barrier to entry anymore. So what will they have to offer? a few celebrities that people don't hate, which is a vanishing breed at this point. Like, stars. That's really all they're going to have to offer. Talent, when you're completely democratizing all this, talent's going to be everywhere, or it's going to seem to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are just incredible graphics there.
Yeah. I mean, again, like the dog and the cat animation. What do you need an animation studio for? Like that's the end of animating as a career. Like, what would you need the people for? So another implication here, and a very obvious one, they are offering a class taught by Agatha Christie. And it has caused a lot of controversy because obviously it's a little ghoulish, right? Where you're taking this dead woman. Obviously, she can't consent to this under the circumstances. Hey, when you think through the implications of this, combine it with other technologies. What's going to happen when you have Google Glass, where you can take all of the dialogue of a fictional character, say Winnie the Pooh, and your kid can wear the glasses and interact with Winnie the Pooh, right? What's that going to do to people's perception of reality? I think these kinds of applications of the technology, I would say, are pretty much inevitable, right? When you were a little kid, what would you have given to hang out with your favorite characters, right? To hang out with like the cast of Star Wars, right? Yeah, and you'll put on glasses and you'll have AI avatars that behave like those characters. Now, for actors who are already dead, actors now are starting to build into their contract stipulations about use of their image post-mortem. But the dead actors don't have that in their contract. What's to stop these studios from resurrecting all of these people? Another implication, which is really creepy to me, I don't know why you would want this. Chinese companies offer to resurrect deceased loved ones with AI avatars. Now, I first saw this story in America, maybe like 3 years ago. They first started doing this, where you give them as much written text that was done by the person as you could, and they'll put it into a model. And the version I saw 3 years ago, your dead loved one would text you. I have no idea why you would want that. Like, talk about inhibiting the grieving process. Jesus. Ugh. But now they've taken it further. Now you'll have the person on your screen. You'll have the avatar. They'll suck up all the social media, everything they wrote. And look, for a couple of guys like us, they'll be able to recreate us forever, man. Look at that George Carlin thing. That was 2 years ago.
Right.
Look how much further the technology is now. So all that to say, Due Dissidence will be on forever.
Yeah, right.
Forever
exactly.
and ever and ever. This is already happening. A true crime YouTube channel's videos got millions of views. It turned out the stories were AI generated. This is the most infamous case of this, but there are several channels now on YouTube where people just, hey man, it's free money, right? They're making like just setting AI to make like children's content or whatever. This one blew up because it was reporting cases where the stepfather was having gay sex with the stepson and then killed him. And people called up the town where it supposedly happened and found out everything on this channel was AI generated. It just was able to create that style of like investigation discovery of yes. And then when he came home, it was able to do that. So these are some of the implications of this technology. Now you might be wondering, well, how are people going to know what's real? The safeguard they have built in is the code is watermarked, like the code contains the evidence that it's AI. But I mean, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to think about clever programmers figuring out how to get around that. Besides that, once this coding and technology is outside the box, what's to stop rogue elements from taking it and making their own version of it that doesn't have any of that? That's a whole other issue. But in terms of the entertainment industry, that's the end. On a broader level, our whole way of processing and interacting with reality is going to change because of this. That's why I wanted to take a look at that David Bowie clip, because what Bowie foresaw with the internet, which of course now we see very clearly he was right, that's what this is. And a lot of people don't seem to realize it, very much like the last story that we did about AI, where the CEO of Anthropic is saying, hey, this is coming and people are not taking it seriously. Looking at this, people are not taking seriously enough the implications of this, hence writing articles about LA's tax breaks. The tax breaks are beside the point. The whole industry is done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is like we said, it's very tough to anticipate where this stuff is going to go. 10 years ago, you would never anticipate that we're going to be where we are now, which means where we're going to be 10 years from now.
Right.
Or even 2 or 3 years from now, even next year. Steve Bannon said in the last clip, all these things are coming online within the next year and a half. And so, I mean, those graphics, you should go on X and find there's 10 different like sample movies. And they are
they're all
amazingly
insane. They're
done.
insane.
Yeah.
There's videos up of Pythagoras teaching his theorems.
Yeah. No, it's incredibly done. Really is. All right. Artie Blighty Fart Blast, the already radicalizer about to have company. EO8, thanks for the $9.99. I am so jaded. I think U.S. will back Israel even covertly, and they know about AI uprising coming. I hope not, but fingers and toes crossed. Thank you for what you're doing. Love you guys. Free Palestine. Thank you. Snork Y2K. I am in Iowa. What about the Tooth Fairy? Ha, that's right. You are in Iowa, Snork Y2K. How to Serve Humans is a cookbook, says Todd S. Thank you. Richard Namulala says, wait, Jesus is a baddie too? Where proper? Fuck. Thank you, Richard Namulala. Monkey Rotary. Listening to One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 2. Scary as fudge. Thank you, Monkey Rotary. Ravid Laz. Speaking of living outside the U.S., Jamal Thomas is currently living in Malaysia. Would be an interesting subject to discuss if you guys ever get him on. Nick and RBN has contact info. Yeah, he's an OG. He's been around forever.
Hey, man, there's a lot of people in our space live outside the country.
Yeah. Krista Waters says, not to brag or anything, but Massie follows me on X too. Screw JD Vance. We troll him often saying he's Israel's bitch, and Massie 28 is really free speech, America first. MAGA's calling out Palantir on X. Thank you, Crystal, for that. Appreciate that. Progressive Lefty. It's like an Arnie movie night. Free shit. You have to have a constitution for AA to wipe out law. Even amongst normies, the grim prospect of American future, I think, has more and more Yanks considering leaving. I've heard people saying so much more often these past 2 years than ever before. Yeah, I believe it.
Oh, yeah. There was an article, a company that helps people become expats.
Oh, yeah.
Say they normally don't get a lot of Americans, and they're getting more Americans than they've ever had.
That makes sense. With enough ketamine in his Neuralink, I'm hoping for Elon Lawnmower Man, which is part of their goal, too, is to just drive people out. They seem to want people here. Yeah. Ravid Laz, more people can also coming to the conclusion the quality of life in the U.S. is getting worse no matter who's in charge, and that the system in the U.S. is profoundly, irreparably corrupt. So the only conclusion is to leave or revolution. Leaving, I would have said, would obviously be easier, but with recent trends, I'm not so sure. Thank you, Ravid Laz. Kurt Vonnegut's player piano seems with this AI scenario creates two classes of people, managers and plebes. Thank you for that. What I can't figure out, if they unemploy us or unalive us, who buys their stuff, who consumes in this model. Well, they
if you have everything automated, you don't need people anymore.
Joni Ernst, new IDF spokesmodel. Everyone dies. There you go. Thank you for that. Okay. Furrow Squeen says, please, could Russell read this one as I'm ill and it would cheer me up? Okay, go ahead. I won't be able to.
I won't be able to afford this month's heating bill with your. Yeah. Do you want? I could say it right. With your wanton use of the radiators. Yeah.
Radiators.
All right. So look, play it through. I'll give it to her the way she clearly wants it.
All right. Here we go.
One of our most loyal viewers.
Again.
All right.
Here we go. All right. Here we're coming around again. All right. There it is.
I won't be able to afford this month's heating bill with your wanton use of the radiators.
Thanks, folks. Oh, you got the COVID, Furrow Squeen? I hope you feel better. Artie Blarty Fart Blast. Interesting, we are approaching a time when the oligarchs won't need us. Interesting, because we already don't need them. Crystal Waters. Alleged terrorist attack against pro-Israel parade. X's Muslims invading or false flags. Ukraine's doing bombing. I'm a bit nervous, boys. Which the U.S. would make like Rome and fall already. Yeah, I got to look into that. Obviously, we'll probably do that tomorrow on Jimmy's. Professor Brown, Nate, I want the DD merch baby Norm cuddly plush toy voiced by Keaton. Squeeze him. He says, "You fantastical moron." Love to DD.
I mean, that would sell if we had the technology to build such a thing.
It certainly would. Let's see here. Louise Brooks, have you seen The Congress with Robin Wright, 2014, actors selling their image for AI movies? No, I have not seen that one. RKN 2022, I was a young guy when the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski was in his pomp, but can we finally say he had a point? Thank you, RKN. K. Biscaro.
Not on YouTube, we can't.
AI art takes after the overproduced, slicked up, plasticized, colorless media of our generation. You can prompt content, but you can't prompt good taste. That's a no diss on AI, it's a diss on us. Thank you, K. Biscaro.
Well, that's why I say most of it will be terrible, but some of it will be genius.
Right. The Axel Dissident, we are not ready for the post-labor society. The kids I teach say the never-ending story was AI. We may be induced into a society-wide schizophrenia sooner than we think. Our eyes will be lying to us through these deep fakes. Thank you.
Yep.
RKN, appreciate that. Okay. We got over here. Wait, Jesus is baddie too. We're proper fuck. Charlie, thanks for the $10. Never be deceived that the rich will allow you to vote away their wealth. Lucy Parsons, American Anarchists. Thank you. Steve Bertrand, thanks for the $5. If the government has had this technology for some time, then what videos from the recent past should we doubt? Oh man, licensing your face body for AI, says Brent Yoendo. Films, going to get weird real quick. Adrian Brody used AI for his accent and role he just won the Oscar for. Oh, is that true?
Yeah. Yep.
Steve Bertrand, thanks for the $5. Russell, have you seen the Battlestar Galactica prequel series called Caprica? It's about a digital resurrection of loved ones. Oh, interesting.
I did see Caprica. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as good. It had some interesting stuff in it.
All right, folks, that is our show tonight. We thank you very much for being here. Thank you to Jake in the booth. Thank you to our YouTubers. Thank you to our Rumblers. Thank you to our mods for keeping the peace in the chat. We appreciate you all very much. We're going to have Shama's stream to make her press conference announcement tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern here on the main channel. And then we will be hosting the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow night with special guest Gabber Mate. If you'd like to join us for the Q&A post-show, dudissidents.com/rumble. That's the link. There will be a 5-minute intermission, and then we will get to our callers.
Yes, and those of you going over there, 3 songs. Guess which one's my favorite?
All righty. Russell's karaoke will be the intermission. Thanks, everybody, very much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the press conference. We'll see you tomorrow night on Jimmy's, and then back for the main show, 2 p.m. Eastern, this Tuesday, June 3rd. Until then, thanks very much for being here with us tonight. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.